randoms considered by many to kind of be the stronger team on paper, but Supernova may be working better as a team those couple weeks ago. Of course, it's been a little while. The meta has changed. We've seen some nerfs come into some very popular champions that were dominating the meta just a few weeks ago. Morgana Jungle, with her clear speed gutted pretty substantially. She's still good, but she is not the absolute monster of a pick that she was just a month ago. And that really changes the landscape of the entire game.
I mean, it does, right? Like the meta has shifted around multiple times, and one of the champions that has been very strong out here has been Gwen. So seeing that locked in for AOE randoms, no surprise there. But Supernova, they get to lock up a couple picks for themselves here. They could grab themselves the Lee Sin if they so choose.
Yeah, and so Gwen, of course, another pick that's kind of shown up as of late. She's increased in priority. She has become one of the strongest champions in the meta, and it's just because she hurts so bad, and she's really hard to catch and kill. She can go top lane, she can go jungle. We've seen her play mid as well. She's got a lot of different roles. If you've got practice on her, she can be a very powerful flex pick, which is something that's obviously very important in competitive play. And she's going to be answered with kind of the older tech here. It's Udyr in the jungle. We've seen Udyr for the longest time, and you know, he's not much to say about him. Run, stun, job done. That's kind of his deal.
Yeah, but on the other side of things, you do have the Rumble and Ashe locked in. Ashe is a champion that we have seen a couple people actually putting a little bit more time into here. It has never been bad, so grabbing that for yourselves does give them quite a bit of initiation that so far their composition is so far lacking on the side of AoE randoms. But over on the other side, they don't have a lack of anything, man. They're just locked in Leona. They got engaged for days.
Yeah, and Ashe is interesting to see prioritized. I don't think I've seen a team prioritize the Ashe and picking it first phase as a blind bot lane carry pick yet, but it of course does offer what it offers. It has a lot of long range, it has some good poke, it has the extremely reliable engage. Ashe and Rumble pair together very effectively. You know, you throw that enchanted crystal arrow out and equalizer right on top of them, and then they freeze and they cook, and for some reason that doesn't like cancel itself out. Instead, it just does a ton of damage to you and then you die. So I like seeing that, especially when Tristana's taken off the board. It's going to give AoE a chance to ban out another 80 carry or two if they want. Supernova going to take away the Karma instead. They don't want to pair this Ashe with an enchanter like that. I think that's a good ban. And we'll see how the randoms want to go about this.
Yeah, we'll see indeed, man. And you see, they already take away Silas off the board, which makes perfect sense. And you can see Supernova saying, all right, we're going to pinch down the support champion pool here. You didn't lock yourselves in with anything. And that's a very major thing to take note of, is they don't have their support locked in for themselves here. So taking away some very strong supports on the side of AoE randoms and what they prefer to play.
Yeah, and Silas, of course, is like an obligatory ban. If you're locking in Ashe, Rumble, and even Gwen to some extent, Silas with those ults is going to be very spooky, especially into Ashe, I think, is the main thing. So you don't want to let that happen. You just kind of have to deny it. They'll also deny the Azir. They're targeting mid lane here. That seems to indicate to me that one of Rumble or Gwen will be going mid lane. Of course, both of those champions banned away are relatively happy in a Rumble mid lane. They kind of fare reasonably well into him. So that's my suspicion, is I would hope and expect that it's Rumble mid as opposed to Rumble jungle. We'll have to see where things go. Of course, Rumble, historically a top laner, has been jungling as of late, so he can go in a lot of different places, just like the Gwen. AoE randoms leaving a lot of flexibility in their draft. Supernova picking around that flexibility by saying, you know what, screw it, we're just going to take our Ezreal.
Yeah, go ahead and grab the Ezreal. Makes perfect sense at this point in time. You already know that you have a Lee Sin that's either going to be inside either the mid or the top lane, so you do have that flexibility still allowed. And yeah, I like this personally coming out here. The Jace lock-in does tell me, I'm pretty sure this is going to be Rumble in the jungle with the Jace up in the top side, Gwen in the mid lane. But you know, we gone through all of this time. Nautilus for your last pick is definitely a nice little bit of a finishing touch to this team composition.
Yeah, of course. And when you have these kind of squishy champs like Jace, especially, you need Engage coming out of some other role. Top lane with like Ornns and Renekton's are kind of the ones starting and making fights happen. Nautilus with his shield, with Aftershock, can kind of fill in that role reasonably well. And the depth charge can do some big damage to important targets. So I like that pickup indeed. And you're at that hover.
Yep, because that's a Strumpus pick, and that's what I was kind of curious about. They took away Silas, they took away Azir, and I'm just like, well, if you're planning on playing Gwen in the mid lane, somebody who gets right up in her face is somebody she doesn't appreciate, and Rise is more than happy to duke it out with you there. This man will beat you down with his scroll if he has to.
And Strumpist, of course, extremely comfortable on this Rise pick. It is kind of one of his signature champs. Supernova, happy to fall back to that one. I think snagging that, knowing your matchups, makes Supernova very happy, makes Strumpist very happy. His matchup into Gwen, it's one of the better ones, right? It's anyone that wants to be inside Gwen's Shroud right alongside with her is pretty happy with fighting her. A lot of her defensive utility and power comes out of that spell, and so she counters the artillery and long-range mages, but someone who's kind of mid to short range, like a Rise, says, okay, I can't hit you from outside there. Well, here we go. I'll walk right in, and then I'll hit you there. It works really well.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man, where it's just like the way this competition does work too. I am going to be keeping my eyes on how Supernova decides they want to play in the mid game. One of the biggest criticisms I've had for AOE randoms for the past couple months have been they are a team that seems like they just kind of flounder around for a bit and then suddenly they win. While over on the side of Supernova, where we've seen this roster really come into its strengths, have been when they've been able to play as a cohesive unit in the mid game. They have mechanically good players, but they've been just doing a lot better whenever they're able to rotate around the map as a group of 5. And it's very interesting seeing how both these teams drafted this composition, especially since Supernova has a composition that has a lot of mid game power spikes, especially like Ezreal, Rise, right? Like you're item dependent for a little bit.
Yeah, and I've seen Supernova in the last few matches in this tournament going for a kind of scaling look. We saw that against the TSM amateur team where they drafted all scaling, and like in the mid game they kept fighting anyway, and eventually they scaled and just won the series and it worked out for them. But it's interesting to see them go mid game. I think it's picking towards their play style where they like doing those fights in the mid game. When they pick scaling, they're too impatient. So just pick mid game and fight with the champs that are strong in the mid game. I think this is a good adaptation to how the team wants to play. You can kind of try and change the way your team plays to fit the draft, or you can change the draft to fit the way the team plays. I think that's what this is. I think this is a good look for Supernova. I think this is them giving themselves their best opportunity to win the game. But AOE randoms, I mean, they've got some thorns in their composition too. They've got some long range engage. They've got pick potential. They've got tons of damage with the Rumble, with the Jace, with the Ashe. They can hit you from a mile away and do just melt anyone. So
the big thing for me though is the difference in terms of like how they're going to be looking to engage these fights, right? Like over on Supernova, they've got a plethora of way to start the fight. AOE randoms, they do have a very interesting issue to have, which is their bot lane is their initiation, right? Like Ashe and Nautilus are what they're counting on to start any one of their fights. Jace isn't really known for starting fights. He's more known for side wave pressure and maybe looking for flanks, maybe doing a little bit of poke here and there. Gwen, same thing, isn't known for the person that's starting the fights, is known for having some fantastic lane prowess and being able to pull off some disgusting flanks. And even Rumble, Equalizer is the name of the game for this champion. If you do a poor Equalizer, everybody just looks at you like, don't pick this champion ever again. Get it out of my sight. So there is some things on AOE random's composition that there's a lot of errors to be had for them if they're not able to execute and not able to have great synergy with their bot side.
yeah, this is going to be execution heavy. This is going to be a game that's almost certainly going to be decided around like those mid-game dragon fights when the teams are stacking for souls. I wouldn't say that either composition has a massive advantage in those fights. It's going to come down to execution, who's on the front foot, who's making these plays happen, who's getting the picks, who has TP advantage can be a very important thing. I like to see how these top laners play around that. I think that's going to be where we see this first game decided, but it's just game one, Travesty. We got to get into it.
Yeah, we have to get into it, see exactly what they'll be able to pop off with, man, because that's what I'm most excited for, being able to see exactly how they get into it. But ladies and gentlemen, we are getting into this game here in a short little bit, and it is going to be an absolute fantastic time. I'm so excited to be able to see it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are in game number 1 here. AOE randoms are over here on the blue side. On the red side, we got Supernova. If you're just now joining us, I'm your play-by-play Travesty, joined here by Coleslaw himself on the color. And Cole, it looks like we got a little bit of an interesting setup here with this 4-person stack from the side of AOE randoms.
Yeah, this looks like a stack that's kind of designed to punish a jungler going in for an early ward. Now they're walking in, so nope, okay, nothing.
They were just looking. It's AOE randoms, right? You don't want to give too much thought into the here or why of what they do. They just do.
Well, it's at level 1. Junglers like to
Yeah.
take their trinket, go in, place a ward, recall, buy your sweeper, and the idea is you just get some free vision. And if he happens to be walking in to place a ward right there, then he explodes and dies, and it's a terrible time for Maddie. So, fortunately for Maddie, he didn't fall into that trap. He did just get his ward down inside his own jungle, like he should, recalled, got his sweeper, did exactly what you're supposed to do. One other thing I want to point out, by the way, is that it's actually going to be Jace mid Gwen top, which is unique. Jace mid, not necessarily his strongest lane, but it can work just fine, and he's got a bit of a range advantage on that rise.
Yeah, it works out a lot better than I think a lot of people think about with it. It's really aggressive. It's really strong. Did actually take Conqueror too, so is looking for more prolonged trades here. But Gwen over in the top side, I mean, this is something that makes sense too, right? Like, Jim is a person who just loves to be able to play aggressive. It's always just something that he enjoys doing, and I have to see how he fares against Cozy, who has been having a great performance up in the top side here inside a cup.
Yeah, and I think the other important thing to note, of course, is that we have a cleanse on this Ashe. Karasuno going with that to make sure that the Yona engage from Papa Chow does not lead to certain doom every time a Solar Flare connects. It's a really good pickup. It's the better defensive tool in that lane. It's very easy to agree with. Just one of those little not quite standard things, especially against an Ezreal you don't normally see. It's kind of a lot more popular into things like Varus, but I think it's a great summoner spell here, and it's going to pay dividends for Karasuno if it's used correctly.
Have to see if he'll be able to fly high with that one, as you can see some tangoing going over here into the top side. Chim looking to cut up Cozy quite significantly, and Cozy having a hard time with it. And this is where it kind of gets really hard inside this lane matchup. It's hard, man. This Gwen can do so much damage so ridiculously fast, and Joseph's gonna come up here and punish here. Shroud does not know about this at all.
This will be a flash at a minimum.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. Minion wave is not there. He's going to flash. He's going to be able to safeguard and get out of harm's way. Josie not going to be able to have any further follow-up.
Yeah, and that's well played by Cozy. I think that's the best case scenario, is getting out of there and trading flashes as opposed to just burning your own. Of course, it's for the jungler's flash, which is a little less valuable than a laner's flash, but it is still a trade of summoner's spells, so Cozy getting ganked, absorbing that pressure, not going down. Nice job using the Sonic Wave to use the Rumble as a halfway escape, you Sonic Wave to the Rumble, and then you get the heck out of there. And that's a really good play, really good avoidance. A nice way to avoid starting the bleeding early on. Actually going to teleport back to lane as well, so you see Chim now going to have teleport advantage, going to walk back himself.
Yeah, and Maddie is over here towards his bot side with Papa Chow looking to just kind of support this possibility here. Papa needs to be careful. He's not going to get caught out here, but they do have vision of Udyr being down here in the bot side, and Maddie looking pretty comfortable right now. Playing this Udyr is looking to tango around this bot side. I think this is the best way for them to be able to play here.
Yeah, and stealing away the Krugs is a very good camp to steal because it's the only camp available for Josie to even take on the map. The Raptor's going to be spawning relatively soon, but his pathing's going to be a little inefficient here. He's got to sit here and wait for the Raptors. Once those are gone, he's going to have to sit and wait for the Wolves. So stealing away the Krugs, make sure that you go up a little bit in farm. Maddie up a not insignificant 8 CS here at 4.5 minutes. That's not nothing in the jungle. Of course, we do have jungle catch-up. We do have slower camp spawns now that the jungle has been reworked a little bit, so it's a little less punishing to go behind like that now than it was just a patch or two ago. But yeah, you like a lead when you get a lead. Lead's good.
Lead's good. I would give a thumbs up for that, yes.
I'm an analyst. I can analyze the game. It's being ahead is a good thing.
Yeah, getting ahead, good. Over here, though, you do see the effects of this chase having this early prio, man. You got to see the support that came in here. Well, Papa Chow's jumped on too. We got some supportal combat down here into the bot side. They're both looking to tango with each other, and they're going to be able to find first blood off of it. That's Ezreal going down. TP is there, but Supernova is not calling off of this just yet. Gwen's going to be able to join into the fray. It's going to be them being able to find the kill onto the Ezreal. Now it's Papa Chow who's going to find himself going down. Chim finds another one for themselves there, and that's going to be AOE Rand's find out. But oh my god, Mandy! The surprise bear slap hits the hardest, but it's going to be Gwen that cuts them up to pieces. Strumpet's over here to defend by himself, and we'll just make sure that nothing else comes from this action in the bot side.
And so you see, basically every decision I think I pointed out came to matter in that exact fight. So first of all, we have Karasuno on the Cleanse Ash, means there is no heal to keep your support alive. Supernova, very well aware of that. They're the ones that engage onto Pacus. There's no defensive summoner spell to keep that Nautilus alive, so they kill him. They get their first blood, they get that Nautilus down. But then it's the TP advantage that Chim has in top lane coming in. We see 2 teleports getting channeled, and then Chim throws a 3rd one on top of that, which means the fight not going to go Supernova's way in the long run. They gotta get out. Karasuno escapes on the Ash with like 40 HP. We just had an Ezreal Mystic Shot missed by the smallest margin to avoid that kill. And then because they have that extra TP, they're able to come down on top. They're able to get an extra kill. Unfortunately for AOE Randoms, unfortunately for Supernova, Maddie able to get right back onto the map and get to the dragon before AOE Randoms. So though they go down 1 kill in the fight, they go up the dragon. I think you're pretty happy with that trade.
I think so too, and you can see here Josie now at level 6 here is going to drop that equalizer down onto Cozy. Cozy in a terrible situation. Beautiful placement on the equalizer there to try and keep him away, but a ward was there to make sure he could safeguard. But man, that was beautiful coming out from AOE Randoms.
Yeah, and that's just the power of that Rumble jungle. Doesn't even have to leave his own jungle to lay down that gank. Chim, having teleported bot lane, picked up a couple kills, is now extra strong. Pretty powerful, gonna be trading very favorably into Cozy, even though Cozy had the chance to sit there, get some XP and farm while Chim wasn't there. If you're down a little bit of farm and a little bit of XP, but up 2 kills, you take that. You've got the items, the Legion Clear is already in, the Dark Seal's at 5 stacks. Chim gonna be a problem, but we've got a little bit of contest going on this bot side red buff.
Yeah, the Leona actually moved back into the bot lane here, so you can see Supernova actually going to back away, not going to want to take that. Makes perfect sense. You don't have the units in your control, and this Jace is at a pretty strong point right now with that serrated dirt.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing is that if you're Supernova, you don't have to think about fighting right now. It's Dragon already taken, so you've got 3.5 minutes to worry about that before it comes back up again. You don't even necessarily need to fight that Dragon. The early Dragon huge because it means that if you do fall behind, if you are on the back foot, then you don't need to contest dragons for a little while. There's no 24-minute soul to worry about. The earliest you can come in is about 30 minutes. And that's just a much nicer timeline if you feel like you're in an uncomfortable spot and you can't deal with something like this Gwen that Chim has, which is just beating Cozy up at this point.
Yeah, this is just Chim in a nutshell, though, right? Like, this is what you expect from Chim, and this is why they felt so comfortable saying, all right, we're going to do a little bit of switch-a-do. They thought there was going to be a Gwen in the mid lane. Hey, yo, what if we take the Gwen and get up to the top side? Chim, very, very comfortable in being able to play this carry style in these lanes, and is definitely showing it, and Cozy has had a lot of attention shown his way now from Josie.
Yeah, it's actually still really impressive how close to even Cozy is keeping it, despite how things have gone. You know, he had to teleport back after getting ganked. He's been ganked again and again. The Rumble just keeps showing up, and yet he's still up in farm. He's against a laner that got 2 kills against his team, and he's keeping it even. Cozy very comfortable on this Lee Sin. He's been playing it a lot, and I think it shows here, you know, and the spell vamp on his W, that safeguard, keeping him healthy in this lane, kind of making up for the fact that every time Gwen presses Q, it does about 9 billion damage. Doesn't matter if it does 9 billion damage if you heal back up the full on the minion wave.
100%. And looking at how the map is kind of going around here, you see Papa Chow moving around the map, and the same thing can be said on the other side with Pacus. They're trying to get something started for this Herald, and both these teams rotating their members around for it, leaving the AD carries just to do their thing down here in the bot side. Both of them have global, so they can have an impact, but I don't think Supernova will take this just yet.
I don't think I want to take this with Chim being on the map with ult up. I think that's scary enough that I want no part in this if I'm Supernova. Looks like they're kind of thinking about it, but not really committing to anything. We'll see if Papa Chow can get an angle. The Herald pretty low.
Yeah, they're looking for it. Here we go. Xenoblade forward is going to be able to jump in, but the equalizer's there inside the choke point. Papa Chow is burning alive, and Chansey Crystal Arrow is going to be the execute. Going to be able to hit that True Shot Barrage over onto the backside. Herald was secured by the side of AOE randoms. There's going to be pockets with the flash forward to re-engage this fight. Maddie finds stuff going on down the safeguard being used by Cozy Strats to try and keep himself safe. He's going to have to flash here to get away from the rest of AOE randoms, but AOE randoms picking up kills and more over in that Herald pick.
I think that's just a mistake if you're Supernova. I think you gotta accept you're a little late to the play, you don't have the positioning, your team just not stronger at this point in time. Ryze does not have a completed mythic. Your Lee Sin is only sitting on the Iron Spike Whip, I think is what it's called. It's
Yes.
no Gore Drinker yet, it's no Stride Breaker. And you're just not quite as powerful on the top side of the map against just a Rumble with Equalizer. That ability is so huge, so powerful. And they couldn't have won that fight, I think, even if they played it really much better than they did. There's nothing horribly wrong with it, you know? It's just Papa Chow going in and saying, I'm a Leona, I engage. But they just don't have the abilities, the items, the stats that they need to win that fight. AoE randoms, very aware of that fact, take the fight, they get their Herald, they get 2 more kills, and they've got a little bit of a lead now in this game.
Yep, gotta press the tab key, look at your items a little bit when you call for stuff like that, and be like, oh, maybe we don't take this one. But now we're going into that 12-minute mark here in the very near future. Herald is over on Josie, and guess who he's deciding to see over here in the top side again?
What a surprise.
He's got a date planned and everything. Shroud says he doesn't want any part of this.
He's just going to run away. The Herald, of course, going to be able to get this turret exceptionally low. If you get it to about 2.5 plates at this point in the game, then the Herald will be able to knock the entire turret down in one go. Of course, if you're allowed to hit the turret, then you'll be able to finish it off once that Herald connects. That's going to be first brick.
First brick has fallen in the pocket of Chim. This is just AoE playing to what their strength is, man. This is what they want to do. Chim has been a fantastic player for them, and they're just playing through them. Have to see how they translate it, though. That will be the major question. As you can see, they're looking to lay out some action over here into the top side. This tower is not long for the world. Cozy Shroud's trying to defend it, but he needs to be careful here. Chim's looking to try and cut him off. So you hit that Dragon's Rage kick. Go ahead and go for it. Teleport coming on through, but it's going to get canceled because the tower is so low. What a bad error to come out from the side of Supernova.
And you see Chim, at first, you know, he's just hitting the turret and ignoring Cozy's existence, right? He's just hitting there, hitting it. Then eventually he's like, well, hold on, this guy doesn't even do damage to me. He's tickling me. Goes in, finds that fight, finds the battle, and the teleport. Yeah, it's just a miscue from Strumpus, thinking, okay, I can teleport to that play and defend my top laner, and the turret dies. What are you going to do?
If that was the call, I mean, it should have been done so much earlier, but now we got a different call coming down here into the bot side. It's a TP coming through. Solar Flare, Papa Chow, your sacrificial lamb. He's going down. TP coming on through from Cozy. It's going to look to re-engage the fight. They're going to be able to lay out the damage on the pockets and be able to find that kill, but it is just going to be a 1-for-1 down here inside of the bot side support for support.
Yeah, and it's Supernova that have to pay the teleport to make the 1-for-1 trade. They're losing farm in mid lane. You actually see this Jace picking up plates. Maddie and Cozy going to do their best to stop this. Actually, they might get this kill.
Yeah, he's going to have to go hammer stance. He does have a good amount of damage, but he won't be able to get a kill here. Cozy's going to be able to secure that, find himself an additional kill, and also this Lee Sin has 2 kills in the pocket.
Okay, so I take it back. Now it's a good play for Supernova because they were able to walk in and find a second kill on the tail end of it. And that's just an overstay from Leo. I think he has to be aware that that play was over bot lane a pretty decent amount ago. The Jason, the Udyr, of course, can get across the map pretty quickly, especially if they've got water walking runes. Standard on an Udyr when he's running Phase Rush. He can book it up to mid lane. And you just got to take your wave shoved into turret and be happy. You can't stay that long, that hard to try and greed for extra plates. Got to get out of there. It's a bit of an overstay. It's a bit of a price to pay. Supernova going to get that kill for themselves, so they win the fight overall between bot and mid. And of course, while that top play was happening, I don't think we mentioned it, they actually picked up that second dragon. They got themselves an Infernal Dragon. We've got a Mountain Soul on the Rift. And Supernova are the ones stacking it, so that's good for them. That's something. They're a little bit behind on gold. Chim, kind of a monster. Yeah. But dragon stacking is happening, and that's an edge, an advantage, a way to win the game.
The scariest thing right now is, like, Gore Drinker just got finished. That's fantastic for you. Still haven't been able to get your Mythic completed on the Rise. It's still a big thing, but the Rise is doing phenomenal. You can see Strumpus is definitely comfortable on the Rise. But once he's able to start hitting his stride with some of these itemization choices, right, he's going to be going for that scaling Luden's Echo build, It seems like just trying to just build himself up that way to where he's doing as much damage inside these team fights as possible. It's going to be a very scary time for the side of AOE randoms if they're not careful. This gold lead is actually not that big for where I feel like they feel safe. They definitely want to grow this a little bit further because not only that, oh, there it is, Everfrost completed. So did go for Everfrost instead. But you look over onto the other side, and Ezreal on the other side has a Sheen, has this Muramana almost completed. It's actually like a very scary time to be because Ezreal's mid game power spike, once he's able to have a Sheen item plus Muramana, is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if he's going to go for the Essence Reaver or if for something like you can go Trinity Force, you can go Divine Sunderer. Essence Reaver is, of course, the standard build. Sunderer would be absolutely grief in this game against so many squishy targets. That's just not even an option. So I'd imagine it'd be Essence Reaver. Trinity Force, honestly, playable here. It's not that bad, but
there's so much gold, and like you could spend it on other things.
Just get your Essence Reaver and be happy, and that is a huge power spike. You get your crit, you get your mana refund, you get tons of ability haste, and you're just chilling as that Ezreal. He's going to be able to complete that Muramana at about the time that item completes, and that will be when Supernova want to go ham. They want to start taking these fights, and they want to pop off around these dragons. Of course, we have Mountain Soul in 30 seconds, or Dragon 30 seconds.
Beautiful catch here onto Josie. Supernova found a big pick here. They're looking for more. Chim taking a bit of damage, trying to get CC'd up. Bear Slap is going to be able to connect. Papa Chow re-engages. They find the kill onto the Ashe, but on the back end of it, they do have to lose Cozy for their aggression. But Supernova find two for the price of one so far. Looking to try and find a possible re-engage here. Chim taking a lot of poke here.
Yeah, and this is a very calculated play from Supernova. They know the dragon's spawning soon. They know they want it. Soul stacking is their game plan.
Look at this. Look at this. They just dropped the depth charge and everything onto this Ezreal. Like, they saw Ezreal by himself and were like, all right, we can take him. And Ezreal just fought that off by themselves.
Yeah, and that's kind of the power of the Ezreal, right? Is he has that arcane shift to be elusive, to be hard to kill. And because the depth charge is so telegraphed, it literally has like a 3-second begin to hit duration. It's very easy to just bounce very far away from it. You can throw out a Q, get your arcane shift on cooldown, go a screen away, and then there's no follow-up, you know? When you're low, you've been poked out, you can't chase it. That means that Supernova keep that advantage. They actually deny some waves under turret to keep that mid prio. They get that Mountain Dragon. They're on Soul Point now, which kind of puts the pressure on AOE randoms. You know, we said that neither of these teams had a massive scaling advantage, but when you throw an early Mountain Soul into the mix, that changes things up. When you're Mountain Soul, you're winning the scaling battle. You can kind of sit back and let that dragon do work for you. So Supernova should be content to kind of sit on their hands and wait for that. They will have 3 separate chances to get that dragon, or 4 separate chances even to get that dragon for themselves. And if any time they get it, if any time AOE random slips up, then Supernova will be in a great position to win this game.
Yeah, I don't know about you, man, but I see a rise over here that's 1-0-1, and I'm like, yeah, the scaling looking fine. You got Strampus on the rise. It is, and honestly, these realm warps have been fantastic so far.
Yeah, they have been.
Right? He had a Butcher teleport up to the top side and then said, all right, my realm warp's going to be picture perfect, and has been doing a fantastic job guiding his team. And this is why you see when people are playing this rise, it's people that are masters of the champion. But oh my god, the aggression here from this Ezreal. I love to see it, but almost getting caught out of position for it.
Yeah, you see him having to burn the flash to get out of the way of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. That's a trade you always take if you're AoE randoms. Trading an ult 4 summoner spell like that, very big. But at the same time, that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, there's limited uses of it here in the mid game while they still have a chance to make something happen. And they need to be connecting with those or making plays. Ooh, wow, Cozy.
Yeah, Cozy's dead.
Nope.
Dragon Rage kick is going to be able to save him. Doesn't get caught out there. One more turret shot would have been enough, but that was very spookily close there, as we do see Rift Herald is being done by Supernova. They have complete control over this, and AoE random's just looking to seize up on this mid lane.
Yeah, I was going to talk through that thing, and Cozy was fine. And, oh,
nope. Soul Flare, take him away. Here, be able to secure that. Cozy rejoins the fray with a TP, is looking to continue this action on forward, but this is going to be a tower to go ahead and grab Herald here and just immediately plop it down into the mid lane.
And this is some really decisive gameplay from Supernova. You can kind of see we're struggling to keep up with it because we're talking about the last play, and then all of a sudden there's a solar flare and someone's dead. Like in the blink of an eye, you can snap and someone's fallen. There should be 2 turrets for them with the pick and with the Herald. They've got everyone hitting on this turret, and that's a huge push for Supernova. That's going to give them the gold lead.
Yeah, this is a gold lead that's going to be secured by them, and this is what we were talking about inside Champ Select when we saw this type of a composition come out. Supernova have such strong mid-game composition here with this Everfrost Rise that is actually able to put off so much CC, be able to lay out so much damage inside this fight, and now you're seeing this Ezreal starting to put in some work against this team here. And ooh, that anchor toss did hit. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is the follow-up, and that is Ezreal getting caught out of position.
Travesty, I think you just cast a curse the heck out of him. You said
the
Ezreal's doing work, and what happens?
Oh.
He eats a dredge line and Enchanted Crystal Arrow. He goes right down. That's the kind of thing that you really can't do on Ezreal. He's one of the few champions that basically has the guaranteed ability to never have that happen. And when it happens, it means you really messed up in a pretty big way. And that's not a great play from Lynx. That's going to cost his team some pressure, and
it's going to cost them even more than just some pressure. It's going to cost them blood. That's going to spill onto the Rift. You're going to be able to hit that Dragon Rage kick onto the Jace, but it's not going to matter for anything else there. As they find another kill, the siege being laid out here. They can't continue on forward. Solar Flare is going to be able to lay out a decent amount of damage. But the reason why I was talking about the Ezreal is I did want to point out the fact that we were talking about the Sheen item. Did go Divine Sunder.
What the heck?
Inside of this, and that's what I was leading up to. I was just trying to curse the man. I was just like, yo, he actually is going to Divine Sunderer here.
I disagree with that item pretty powerfully. That item is really good against tanky compositions where doing max health damage on machine procs is good. There's an Ashe, there's Jace, there's Rumple, there's Gwen. None of these champions are really going to be building tank or armor items. I guess the Gwen kind of gets some HP. Riftmaker, Merlinomicon, those kinds of items do give you some, but I'd rather just have my Essence Reaver against the Gwen even. And that just feels like a misbuy from this Ezreal, and I'm not sure what's going on there.
Jim looking to engage this on the Papa Chow is going to be successful in doing just that. Equalizer's going to be laid out only for Papa Chow. Red carpet exclusive for him. Jim looking to lay out some damage over the wall here, but Maddie just trying to clear away some vision. Strumpus isn't in the area. TP coming through. Enchanted Crystal Arrow does go wide, looking for possibly the re-engage here as they're trying to pick up a kill, a pick somewhere off onto the side here. Strumpus is over here laying out good damage onto Chimp. Chimp actually is going to have to put down his build. He's going to go ahead and get the shutdown on the Strumpus though. It's just the damage getting laid out. Maddie's nets up. Ezreal trying to poke his way out of this. The HP bars are low at this current moment in time. He could absolutely find himself a way to get a couple of kills here, but it is going to be him just looking to lay out some poke from over the wall.
Yeah, and it's tempting, you know, you see all those low HP bars, you see everything kind of low, but the issue is that against this AOE randoms comp, that's just not a fight you could take. Neither once you had Papa Chow going down, and then even there for Lynx. It's just not possible. I think Supernova just wanted the soul, they wanted it badly, and they were willing to fight a 4v5, and I think you just gotta accept, you know, you're not that far ahead, you don't have a massive gold lead, even though everyone's half health. The barrier to execution is just so high. Papa Chow eventually, or not Papa Chow, Strumpus ends up eventually eating a dredge line, and then it just falls apart for Supernova.
Yeah.
They could have just given up one kill. Instead, they give up so much more than that. They lose the dragon anyway, and it just doesn't work out for them. I think you got to be more willing to concede. You know, you get a pick, write it off. It's a mistake. It's only one dragon going over. We still have Soul Point on the map, but instead they fight it anyway. They lose the fight, and that's just giving up shutdowns and gold that you don't need to.
Yep, and now we got the most overpowered ability in the game, the Hawk Shot, in my opinion. Just give free vision, you know, get that data allowed for it. And it's honestly very, very good to be able to see. And this is a big reason why I feel like Ashe should be another champion to be able to see there. Beautifully see that True Shot Barrage hit nobody except for a couple minions there. But it's a reason why I do like seeing Ashe kind of come back. It's why I always say, you know, Ashe, never a bad champion. In the worst case scenario, even if she's behind, she can engage and she can give you vision. And every jungler loves that.
Yeah, and I mean, well, except for the opposing jungler who hates it with all of their might, because there is nothing more sad as a jungle player than being on your Krugs and then a Hawkshot just flies over your head and says, hey, by the way, I know where you are. Because
we all do.
It's just so sad. It's so sad. And you're just so sad that you're trying to be sneaky, you know, you've done a weird path, and Ashe just says, nah, I got you. I know where you are. It's a great pick, I agree. And I think so far it's been justified.
I think Crystal Arrow It does connect onto the Ezreal. He's stunned up pretty hard by this. The damage is definitely there. And Josie is flashing on top of him. Leona already gone. Josie has to go golden here, but it's just going to be the acceleration gate, the shock blast. That's an ace, a triple kill going over to Leo. And that is going to be AOE random looking to bear down onto the base itself.
They have a minion wave here. They're knocking on the door. These death timers are present. They can hit these turrets very quickly. There's a world in which they're pushing for game here, Travesty. It's going to be kind of close.
No, they're look at those HP bars, right? Like, they don't have the HP to be able to scrap with that. They didn't knife and kill them.
I'm going to assert that they could have won the game there. I think they could have if they had done it right, if they had gone in at the right angle, kept the low health bar members in the back. I think they could have made it happen. Papa Chow still doesn't have the solar flare. He was the only one up for like 15 seconds straight. I don't think he could have killed anyone. But they're not going to risk it. They don't want to. They don't want to throw the game by overstaying and punt away a Baron. So it's hard to fault them for it. And that's a really close call either way. So I agree with their call nonetheless. And if you think that you're going to have the scaling no matter what, you're up 6k gold, you're starting to win team fights, sure, say we'll just win another team fight and win the game that way.
Yeah, I'm looking at the side of Supernova. They're the ones that have been getting caught out of position now in these past couple instances here. AOE randoms, this is kind of what we've seen from them even before they were a part of AOE, right? When they were just randoms. It is this team, this squad of players here, they tend to play like this where there's a lot of times where you're like, what are they doing? What's happening? Why are they throwing here? And then all of a sudden they do stuff like this where they just find a pick and they immediately jump onto it. Papa Chow gets out this time, but this is the AOE randoms definitely playing to their comfort.
Yeah, and you see, they keep going for Papa Chow of all people. It's Leona support who I think is getting picked off the most in these fights, but he's vulnerable. He's not that tanky. You go for it. They're on the Baron now.
Yeah, and an equalizer there is going to do a super amount of damage there. Beautifully done. The kills come out. AOE randoms are looking to tear Supernova's HP bars asunder. Beautiful from the Ezreal to be able to find Chim there, but it's just going to be a beautiful flash over the wall by Pockets. It's going to be the Ezreal being able to find the triple kill. He's playing so phenomenal on it, but Josie is here to extinguish this fire and light it anew. AOE randoms going to find themselves winning this first game.
Yeah, for a moment. Well,
they're backing. No, they're just dipping out of it. They could at least get a Nexus tower here. I'm very curious.
Yeah, at this point, you got to kind of wonder, you know, do they know that taking the Nexus turrets is an important part of winning the game of League of Legends or something? Because they have Baron.
I mean, they wouldn't have been able to get both, right?
But they have
that's
Baron.
The thought process.
They have Baron and super minions running into the base. Just Baron up those super minions. You will get both Nexus turrets. You might not get the Nexus, but I don't know, man. I think you got to push for something there. I mean,
they get Drake here, so
there's many ways to win when you're this far ahead. So whatever.
They're just going to go for the Drake here. It makes perfect sense here. They got the TP to jump on over to it. So it's safe. It's the best way to be able to play around with this. They can turn around, grab the straight, deny Soul yet again, which would have been the saving grace for Supernova. That possibly would have been able to help them out in some of these fights. But Supernova, they gotta make sure they don't roll around on these equalizers. This red carpet has been deadly, and they gotta really respect this Rumble. Josie's been having a fantastic time on this Rumble pick.
Yeah, I think it's been in the last few fights. The equalizers have just been so on point. They keep hitting 3 or 4 people. They're chunking the entire Supernova team to half health before the fight even starts. And when your entire team's half health before the fight even starts, you lose the fight. That's kind of the way it goes. And now Supernova on death's door in this game. They are holding on for dear life. They're going to need to make something happen. Their turret already falling. Doesn't look like they're engaging.
The Crystal Arrow, another equalizer onto the Ezreal here. Josie is on a killing spree. We just got Strumpus. He just recalled. He just came back from that top side to rejoin the fray. It's the action coming on here. Depth charge should be able to connect. He's going to be able to put the CC onto the Ezreal as well. The Strumpus going to be able to find the kill onto Pockets. Now it is a 4v4 here, as Supernova going to be able to defend against this, but they do have to pay a price for it.
Yeah, they lose their inhibitor, so the pressure keeps coming in. They're going to have double super minion wave clear duty going on now. You're not going to have a good or easy time pushing counter to that, but they're not totally out of this game yet. They're down 6k gold at 30 minutes. That's a lot, but not insurmountable. They're up in dragons. It's just a matter of stalling out for these inhibitors to respawn. The mid one will be coming back up soon enough. And Strampus is still scaling, man. He's gotten more than 10 CS per minute. He's on 3 completed items at 30 minutes. He's very accelerated for a Rise. You see him just farming away the jungle. This is going for like the 400 CS doing B Rise hack gameplay right here, just farming away. And if you can keep stalling, if you can turtle, then maybe there's a hope. But they need to have an answer for these Ashe arrows, for these Nautilus hooks. It's just every time AoE randoms want to do something, they just go kill someone, and then they get to take it. And Supernova going to need to play around that. They're going to need to be respectful. I'd like to see QSSs on a couple people who keep eating them, because, you know, if you have a QSS, that arrow, basically powerless. But that's not coming in, and you got to imagine that this game could end soon if we see another arrow from Karasuno landing on anyone important.
Yeah, and you can see right now, man, they're in a position where they're looking for a flank. They are looking to just go ahead and find the moment to siege this up. They're playing a 1-4. Chim is incredibly strong. 4-1 and 14 is the scoreline on this Gwen, and they can just push a lot just like this. They've got super minions that will eventually come into the spot side, even though they have been pushed up here presently. Chanticleer arrow missing. Not going to be anything further than that, but they still are able to get in onto this inhibitor. They're laying in a couple hits. The 5v5 that will break out here will decide the fate of the game here. Inhibitor goes down, Soulflare not connecting onto anybody there, as it's just going to be AoE randoms taking an inhibitor for free.
Yeah, and I feel like Supernova may have had a window where the Ashe arrow goes wide. You're thinking, well, that's a big engaged tool down. Don't have to respect that as much. Maybe we could look for something. They're choosing to play it patiently. They don't want to force anything on the footstep of their base. If you lose that fight, you lose the game. So they're content to give away their inhibitor and back off. They're going to keep turtling. They're going to keep scaling. That seems to be the call from Supernova. AoE randoms on the flip side, going to kind of pivot to this top lane. There's only one lane left to push. There's no objectives on the map just yet, so they're going to try and generate some pressure. Stay out on the map long enough for some wards to die, and then they can pull off the Baron, pull off the Dragon, take a neutral objective that way.
Yeah, and you can see that Supernova is wanting to look for an angle there, right? Like, they did use the solar flare. They did look for a possible catch onto somebody, and then they miss it. So they're just like, all right, we have to back away from this. But you can even see here, Maddie is looking to go ahead and slap up Chim, trying to see if he'll be able to. But then he realized, hey, we don't see them on the map currently. We don't know exactly where they are. So they immediately back away from over chasing or overstepping their bounds versus this very fed Gwen.
Yeah, and this can make it hard if AoE randoms want to go for a Baron, because Supernova have no vision anywhere. This is kind of what a sustained push does, is all those stealth wards you have on the map time out. They die, they expire. And that means that when it comes time to approach objectives, approach the Baron, there's no vision anywhere. You see, they have to be super cautious. They're very scared. They have no way to get in without just kind of risking a face check at every step of the way. And they're not even going to try. The Baron's up in 10 seconds, and they're too afraid to walk at it. Except for Papa Chow, who gets a ward over the wall. Spots that no one's doing it, no one's got vision on it, and that's a big, important play for Supernova, as simple as it may seem.
Check out the timers, though, here, right? Baron just came up, right? But Drake is also coming up in about 10 seconds. You can see AoE Random say, you know what? They want the Dragon more than they want the Baron, so we're going to take the Drake first and foremost. And they can't fight around this. They can't do anything around it. They're using the Ezreal's True Shot Barrage to try and do something here. TP coming in from the Rise into the mid lane. They could be looking for a fight after this, but this is going to be a very scary situation. Pocket's looking for a possible angle here onto anybody who may so be a priority target. Enchanted Crystal Arrow connecting is going to be able to lay out the damage onto Papa Chow. Equalizer going to be able to go over, but not going to be able to connect on anybody. Chen is taking off right off the back of that play. It is going to be now the Rem Warp coming through. Maddie's going to be into the backside, but it's going to be immediately turned around. Burst down the Bear Man. And they're going to be able to find that action. They're going to re-engage as AoE randoms. It's going to be able to find an advantage for themselves, but Ezreal is just free-hitting, free-firing onto this backline. Is laying into damage. Ezreal putting in so much work. Has to watch out. The Flame Spitter is coming on through. It's just a 1v1 now. Cozy looking to see what he can do, but he can't close it out. AoE randoms find the victory with one man standing with a Quadra under their belt.
And what a close fight, Travis C. That was on a razor's edge. So much to talk about. Both teams making mistakes, making plays in that fight that could have been the game had it gone just a little more against them. Chim on the flank gets blown up immediately. Maddie on the Realm Warp teleporting into the back line and getting blown up himself. A couple different flanks not really working out for either team that made that fight a lot messier than it needed to be. At the end of the day, it's a 4 for 5. No objective goes down on the tail end. You saw Leo just has to recall, go back to base. Of course, AOE Random's now going to turn their attention to this Baron. They can go ahead and try and snag that. Their death timers are a little earlier across the board, but Supernova going to run out. They don't want to give that over.
They don't. They really don't, because that could be the nail in the coffin here inside of game number 1 here. But it is going to go ahead and be started. That team fight was insanely close as well. So you can definitely feel Supernova say, oh, we're still in this. We still have a leg to stand on here. But this is going to be Baron secured by the side of AOE Randoms. And AOE Randoms looking like they might try to put themselves in a position to possibly close out this game here.
Yeah, with the Baron push, you have to imagine that at some point they're going to start knocking on the Nexus turrets. They've kind of been afraid of it so far, but you've secured 3 dragons. You've seen your gold lead not really grow lately, and there's an arrow.
Yeah, it nets onto a priority target. Strumpet's got to do nothing in that fight. Jace found 2, make it 3, make it 4. AOE Randoms, they're able to route everybody on the side of Supernova, except for this Ezreal. He's trying to poke over here from the side, but it's just not enough. It's going to be the Nexus falling down. And that is AOE Randoms picking up game number 1 here in this best of 3.
And that's just the AOE hurt coming out of Josie. I don't think I could say enough praise about how on point those equalizers were in every single fight. And that one, he laid it right down on top of the entire Supernova composition. You saw Shock Blast come in on top of that. With all of that damage, Supernova lost that fight as soon as it started. They just melted. They cooked. They were obliterated. They got wiped. They didn't have the re-engage because they were already dead before the opportunity arose. It's the arrow into the equalizer, doing all that damage from a screen away. Supernova just wasn't ready to deal with it. They lose the fight. They lose the game. And all of a sudden, Travesty, it's 0-1. Supernova have their backs against the wall. They are 1 game away from facing elimination from Cup.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of things that they wanted to get inside of it turned out like Supernova had a lot of things that looked really good, right? The Ezreal pick, we got to see why it was prioritized. We also got to see the Rise able to have a couple of cool moments, but it came down to a lot of miscommunication, I feel like, from the side of Supernova. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that, especially the way they played team fights, right? A lot of these squishy members catching these arrows with their teeth, man. They were just, it was a rough spot to be able to see at, and you got to see it immediately. If an arrow lands, an equalizer will follow.
Yeah, and I feel like AoE randoms were aware that if they were on the front foot, if they were the ones engaging those fights, starting it on their own terms, they could take it. And that's what they did for most of that game. It was them fishing for those long-range engages. If they missed, they backed off. If they hit, they won the fight, and they took something. And they kept rinsing and repeating with that exact same game plan, and there just wasn't ever an adaptation from Supernova that kind of turned that thing around. They weren't engaging the fights themselves. They were always looking to counter-engage. Sometimes it worked. Most of the time it didn't. It ended up costing them the game. It ended up costing them the risk of being eliminated in this series.
Yep. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take it over to a short break. When we come back, we will be going into game number 2 and see how Supernova is going to be responding to AoE randoms to take this to the distance. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you don't go anywhere. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the stream. We are getting into game number 2 here. My name is Travis. I am joined here by Coleslaw himself. And man, oh man, after game number 1, we got some questions. We need some answers, and we're going to be able to get them here as soon as we're able to see this draft get going.
Yeah, Supernova have their backs against the wall. They need to win 2 games in a row, or they are going to be knocked out of this event. That will be it. There's only 2 teams in their group advancing. They're fighting for the second place. And if AOE Randoms win this game, they get that second place. They're going. Supernova is out of here. AOE Randoms probably looking to do exactly what they did that first game. Pick something like Ash Rumble, engage a bunch of fights, win a bunch of fights. Supernova have the pressure and onus on them to find an answer, to find a response, to find something that is resilient against that strat, win this game, and push this series to game 3.
Yeah, that's going to be the strategy that they need to go for at this point in time, man. This is a risky situation for them to be in, and now they got to kind of have to dance on the dagger's edge here. We'll have to see, as we do see Supernova is apparently staying back onto the red side here. They have not moved around, as AOE Randoms is over on here on the blue side, and you can see bans flying out so quickly, so swiftly here.
Yeah, and Supernova actually banning away Nocturne. This was something that we saw them play and struggle with last week against Wildcard Red, where they fell to a Nocturne in game 1. I think they're just traumatized. Gwen also a pick that traumatized them, so they're going to deny that one. They want no part of these pickups. They're just getting rid of them. I'm not sure I agree that Gwen was the problem in that last game. I think the Jace, Rumble, and Ash were all a bigger deal than the Gwen was, but they're getting rid of it, and we've got picks flying off the shelves, Travesty.
Yeah, absolutely we do here. And, Lisa and Lilia being grabbed immediately here. Lilia, very interesting to see Lilia coming back into the fold here. It has kind of disappeared a little bit with other champions like Morgana Rumble coming into the fray here. But, it is a response to the Udyr that was insta-picked by randoms. And Ashe makes sense. It worked out perfectly for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would be stunned if they didn't go back to the Ashe, because the Ashe was monstrous. It just worked perfectly. They threw out arrows and they got kills with it every single time. I don't like Lilia from Supernova. She's just statistically weak right now. She's been nerfed by Riot so many times due to her presence in pro play,
Hello?
professional play. I was between pro and play, and I plo,
Yeah.
But she's just not good. She's not very powerful. She does still have the Lilting Lullaby. She can still get game-winning fights if she lands that Swirl Seed and then the Lilting Lullaby onto many people. But there's just better champions that have that same upside that are just better at other stages of the game and can do other things better. So I kind of hate that pick, but I'm a Lilia hater at the same time. So
I'm a Lilia connoisseur. I play her top lane. But anyways,
I don't even want to get into that.
over here onto the other side, Nautilus getting locked in makes sense. Papa Chow getting himself on something that's tanky that can engage for his team makes perfect amount of sense here. For the side of Supernova, now we're going through these bans here. See exactly what the ideas will be. And, seeing the Silas already over here does put a lot of pressure and a lot of you having to actually think about exactly what you are going to be picking here, because you already have the Dragon's Rage kick. He already has the depth charge that he's able to steal away. Those are 2 fantastic ultimate abilities for him to be able to secure.
Yeah, and the depth charge is a fun one because it's actually got a pretty good AP ratio. I could be wrong. It's either like 0.7, it might just be 1.0. Silas has a lot of those where he steals some champion that doesn't build AP's ult, and that ult actually has like a fantastic ratio, and then he obliterates people with
Leona ult, yeah, right? Like the Solar Flare blinds you, literally.
Ash ult's another fun one. I think Nautilus ult's in that same camp where Silas steals that, he presses R on someone, and that's a nuke. It decimates them, and that's something you're going to have to be watching out for. I think that's actually a pretty good way of dealing with someone like Lilia, who's relatively squishy, and kind of hates getting hit up with an ability like that, so yeah, Supernova kind of have to draft on a little bit of glass here. They got to be careful. They don't want to step into more Silas ults that will destroy them. And AoE randoms, knowing that, they pick it up before it can get pinched away. It was pinched last time, so they say, well, we think this pick's good enough that we don't want it to get pinched. We're going to snag this blind. We don't care. We're going for it. Of course, they can send it top into Lee Sin, and that lane's not unwinnable for the Silas either.
Yeah, I think one of the big things about AoE randoms is the amount of synergy they actually have between their solo lanes, right? Their solo lanes actually have a lot of champion pool synergy, where when it's like, those little Venn diagrams and whatnot, like the center is actually bigger than the other parts of the circle that are just their individual champion pools. They share more things and they have uniqueness from each other when it comes down to champions they can play. And it's a fantastic advantage for AoE randoms, and they're just taking full advantage of it. I like the Ezreal here. Supernova showed that they know exactly how to play this Ezreal pick, but very curious. Leona is just going to get traded over here.
Yeah, I like the Nautilus side of Leona Nautilus a little better. I like Supernova prioritizing that, but it is kind of just a handshake of trading supports. They're both good supports. They both have plenty of power.
Yeah.
And sure, she kind of does the same thing. You know, she goes in. Nautilus goes in. Leona goes in. The difference is that Solar Flare could miss. Depth Charge cannot. So there's a little bit of distinction there, but Solar Flare is still going to be perfectly good in this game. Leona with the Zenith Blade, of course, can guarantee it if she gets that stun too. So that's what AoE Random's going to go for, and they're going to lock in the Jace as their last pick. Go right back to that because it worked fantastically in Game 1.
I'm very curious if this actually gets locked in here. Arise didn't work out too terribly well versus the Jace last time, and they could just absolutely opt for the Jace to go back into this mid lane. Yes, you didn't lose it; you actually were up in CS, but they said, you know what, the Rise was not an issue. They want to just run it back onto the Rise, and this is very curious to me. I really like the fact that AoE randoms banned away to Cassio, because if Cassio was up, I would definitely be like, yo, pick Cassio into this composition. But this is definitely a Supernova kind of going back to comfort here and saying, you know what? A lot of things that went wrong were just on our end. It wasn't actually the champ select.
Yeah, you know, it's very few changes here. It's a different jungle pick, and we've swapped who's playing supports. And otherwise, it's still the Lee top, it's still the Ezreal bot, it's still the Rise mid. So they're saying we're just gonna play it better. That's what this draft is asserting. If you're Supernova, it's, you know what, that game one didn't go our way. It's do or die, and we're just gonna play it better this time. We're gonna execute differently. We're not gonna let those 3 dragons slide away from us. We're gonna try and win this game. That's what they're gonna attempt to do here. They've got comfort. They've got some power picks. I like them going back to the Lee Sin and the Ezreal. Those were both fine last game. Cozy on that Lee Sin was actually kind of monstrous. He absorbed so much pressure and didn't give up anything, really. So I'd like to see that again. I think it's just going to come down to a little bit of different macro in the mid game, a little bit different fighting around bot lane. They can't go for these big plays when they don't have TP advantage. They can't go for fights on Dragon when they've lost someone to start the fight. And if they can be a little more respectful and patient, I think maybe it does work out for them.
Maybe it does. And that could be a lot of the different things, right? Just making those mid game adjustments, saying, all right, maybe we don't take fights in these situations. Maybe we make sure to have a little bit of our tank front line in front of us. The issue I personally have right now is the fact that this composition is a lot squishier on that frontline aspect, right? Like Lilia is not a frontliner. It's a champion who is going to be looking to go in, get those wilting lullabies, yes, but is not that frontliner. So I'm going to be looking at Supernova to be proactive inside this game, right? I want to see them being the ones to initiate, because Lilia, when you have to play reactive, does not work out very well. You want to be very proactive with this type of a team composition.
Yeah, Lilia wants to fish. She wants to be the one looking for things, starting the fights, using that Lilting Lullaby to start it off. She does not counter-engage. She does not really anything if she gets hit up by an Enchanted Crystal arrow, and AoE Random showed that they were willing to let that one fly anytime they thought they were looking for a fight. So Supernova, I agree, are going to need to be proactive. They're going to need to use this pick correctly. Sometimes it can be good if you're a little slower to the pit fight around a dragon or something like that. If you're approaching second, you let the enemy team take position on the objective, and then you start fishing with those swirl seas. And if you connect one, then you dive into that pit, you make that fight happen, and that can kind of be a good power for Lilia if you're a little slower. Of course, the alternative is get your position, and when the enemy team starts jockeying, then you fish that way. But that's kind of how you have to play Lilia, is you need to dance for a while and wait for that ability to connect. And if it doesn't, then her power is really not there.
Yeah, that becomes a very interesting part to be in, man. I want to see. I really want to see exactly what Supernova's game plan is going to be inside of this. AoE randoms. I do want to know, like, is this Sylas going to be topside? Is this going to be a Jace mid? So I think we just got confirmation that the Sylas is going to be over to the top side. And I think that makes sense. This is a champion that plays the chimp style. Sylas is known for being mindlessly aggressive, honestly. I mean, he has a lot of ways to, like, make sure that he doesn't go punished when he does these aggressive trades because of the healing off his Kingslayer and stuff like that. So I personally, this is another game where Chim could dictate the pace of it, though. He's got a lot of flexibility with this Sylas pick.
Yeah, Silas has a decent lane into Lee Sin. He does have the Kingslayer to get a bunch of healing. My favorite thing about that lane, I'm like hoping we get to see it just because it's hilarious when it happens, is if Silas steals the kick from Lee Sin and then they just kick each other and they fly away. It's fantastic. Every time it's just like, oh, okay, that fight's over.
It's a foot
And
five.
it
Like
is.
like instead of doing your hands, you do it with your feet. It's it's a perfect normal thing.
Yeah, I think it's one of the funnier interactions in League of Legends is you just kick each other and you just and fly away. I want to see it happen, if not just for entertainment value. I mean, that's the only real reason. In any case, we're gonna have to see how Jim plays it. I think it's gonna be another lane where jungle pressure dictates a lot. We saw top lane being kind of camped for the side of AOE randoms. They were up there non-stop. Josie just said, "Hello, I'm putting up a tent and I'm making this lane hell for you, Cozy." And Cozy's going to have to deal with that. He's got the Lee Sin yet again. He's got that mobility, but this time the Sylas kind of better at gank setup, and maybe it'll go a little differently if Cozy's not able to be respectful.
Well, no equalizer needed this time around, but they do have the bear slap, so we're going to have to keep our eyes on that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take ourselves a short break. When we come back, we are going to be going into game number 2, so make sure you do not touch that browser. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are going into game number 2 here between AOE Randoms and Supernova. Supernova being over on the red side, AOE Randoms on the blue. My name's Travis. I'm joined here by Coleslaw. Cole, how are you?
I'm great. I want to point out Papa Chow getting that dredge line right out of the fountain, getting that extra half-second speed run out of the base. Big advantage in the early game to be able to do that. So,
Well, unfortunately, you don't get points for speed running the game. All right.
sadly, getting out of base a half-second earlier actually doesn't matter even a little bit. But
Mhm.
he goes and catches the recall from. Actually, it's Pacus who put down a ward and recalled, got the sweeper early on support. You're going to see Maddie do the same thing up near the top side. We're going to see some scrapping in mid lane. But, we should be talking about what's going on with builds, what's going on with summoner spells. Of course, we see the counter cleanse from Lynx here. We had cleanse on Karasuno on Ashe last game. Instead, it's Lynx with the cleanse this game. So that's interesting that Karasuno has decided that no cleanse needed into the Nautilus, was needed into Leona. I'm a little curious about that one, but heal's fine, so...
Yeah, absolutely. Just making that switch over. Said, hey, there's less CC, right? There's no bear slap that you have to worry about now. The only CC you really do need to worry about, really and truly, is the Rise route, which if you're playing right, you don't ever have to worry about, and the Nautilus hook that is going to be the bane of their existence. So they're just like, we'll just take the heal. Which makes
I can
perfect
say it
sense
to you,
here.
right? Is cleanse doesn't do much into Nautilus because you cleanse one CC and then he CCs you with one of the other 4 CCs in his kit because like the entire champion's just
He's the
crowd
big
control.
daddy of CC, man.
Yeah. So what do you get to cleanse from Nautilus? I guess that's the point. I think I understand it now. So we are going to see cleanses traded between the marksmen because the supports were traded. Adapting, thinking about it.
Yep, absolutely, and it makes sense too. I like the adaptation to come out here, and things that we definitely want to see is definitely a continued performance from this Ezreal. Last game, Ezreal was really the person kicking and screaming all the way home with every single one of those team fights, and his Ezreal was powerful in every single bit of these fights. So we'll be curious, keeping my eyes exactly on this bot side and see if this Ezreal is able to have that pop-off moment yet again.
And if he's going to build Sunderer, this is a better game for it. We saw Sunderer last game when it wasn't really the most suitable item. This game, I think, into a Leona and an Udyr, it's a little more justifiable. Leona does have more max health than a Nautilus support. Nautilus' max health a lot lower because of the shield that he gets. Leona does get a little more inherently tankier, and Divine Sunderer can be good to take that down. And it's great to take down someone like Udyr, so I think it's a better item this game. If it wasn't good last game, it's probably fine this one. So if Lynx is gonna just avoid trying to change up his build, then it's gonna work better this time around.
And keeping our eyes on these junglers as well too. You can see they're ending up on opposite sides of the map. These are both very fast clearing junglers, so we'll have to keep our eyes on them, exactly where they decide to go and whatnot with them clearing out the jungles. You can see they're even just getting scuttle trades going on between the two of them. Is no lanes really have any control over it besides the on whichever side they're at, right? Like Supernova, they've got this top side under control with this Lee Sin. On the bot side, you got Ashe, Leona. Of course, they got control over this bot side.
Yeah, and it's the most bog standard clear for both junglers. They've jungled in opposite directions. Full cleared their jungles, then took a crab. You see Josie ahead of the clear by maybe 5 seconds total on the pacing, so no big advantage coming out of the jungle early. No looks for ganks, no looks for fighting. Just going to be a bit of a handshake in the early game. Of course, neither of these junglers known for being early game dominant champions. You're not exactly a monster on the early ganks. Lilia really wants to hit 6, so I think Maddie's perfectly content with that. Josie probably fine with it too. It means there's not a ton of action though. Maddie now taking a look down towards bot lane. He's going to run over a Scuttle Crab and a ward, so.
Just going to go bowling. Not going to hit any pins on that one. But to take note of too, look at the itemization that we're actually seeing early on here. We had Rise and Lee Sin both do early bats here, Executioners, and we get to see the Crystal come out alongside with a Darksteel. So different itemization coming out. We're seeing an engagement go on here onto Papa Chow. Papa Chow taking a big amount of damage to arrows. We're going to be able to ring true. The cleanse is going to have to be used. As it does look like Ezreal is looking to try and turn it around. The bowling ball is going to be able to come on through, try to lay out a little bit more damage, and that's going to be them backing away from this now. The TPs have been used. We're going to have a little bit of a scrap over here. It's going to be this Silas getting out of harm's way, but Chimp taking a heaping amount. Trump is looking to try and finish him off, but not going to be able to lay in the damage to do so. And AOE randoms, they're going to have to limp away from this. Cozy might be looking for more in a bit of a weird situation.
Oh, he finds it.
Is looking for something there. It could go in, but he knows it would be his own doom there as well. So he is not going to take that.
And I feel like that's a mirror image of the play that happened last game for the exact same reason, which is when you engage on a support and the marksman has cleanse, there's no heal for that support. AOE Random's very aware of that. They target down Papa Chow, just like how Supernova targeted down Pockets last game, getting themselves first blood. Of course, Lynx and Maddie well aware that they can turn that kill around, get themselves a return onto Pockets, so it ends up being a 1-for-1, but I think that's every teleport on the map burns so that the teams could scrap in bot lane for nothing too important. So no one really coming out too far ahead. I guess you get the 100 gold bonus for first blood going on to Karasuno relative to only 300 gold for Lynx getting on that kill on Apakis. But it's a messy fight. I think there was a Q that missed from Strampus that would have been a second kill, just barely went wide. And at the end of the day, it's kind of a wash, you know? We're just going to go back to business as usual. We're back to laning. We can just pretend that didn't happen.
This is really smart coming out from Maddie, though. Took chickens right off of that and immediately translated that into a scuttle take. So that's a very nice early scuttle to be able to grab. Josie's over here to try and make him pay for it, though. He's going to be able to beautifully do so. There's no flash on Tisnos. So this is just textbook on where to gank and how to do it. And Josie is here instructing the class.
Yeah, and I think that could have been trouble for Papa Chow even if Josie wasn't nearby, but especially when there's an Udyr sitting in that bush waiting for you to come up and try and clear a ward, it's just a disaster. With a flashless Nautilus, you're always going to go down there. You're always going to die. And now with him dead, they're looking to leverage that kill into the first dragon. AOE Random's going to try and get an early one for themselves this game.
Yeah. Papa Chow in a bit of a hurting position here, getting kind of out of position. This does lead into the Drake after Jace roams down to secure that, make sure there's nothing else, no other shenanigans. But Maddie is going to be able to take away his blue buff here, and Udyr's not going to be none the wiser for it.
Yeah, and there's no one investigating or checking in on this. Stromp is actually walking up. I think they're going to hand this buff off to the Rise, which is a pretty good way to kind of punish the opposing team in two different ways. You deny the blue buff, and you get a blue buff on your mid laner, so you're counter jungling, you're getting farm, and you see Chim actually wisely backing the heck off. He knows that Maddie should be up here. He's respecting a dive. I don't think Supernova actually wanted to go for the dive, but he's got to respect it anyway. He's way away from his turret, and it's going to cost him a little bit of farm and a couple plates to go. He's actually up 2 plates already.
You can see, it wasn't even him respecting Maddie. It was him respecting Strampus there. Strampus, once Strampus showed up on the map, he said, okay, I can walk back to tower. And I think that's a very wise move to be able to make. Once Rise is able to lock onto him, there would be no hope for him to be able to get out of there. One of the biggest things about Silas is how mobile, how hard it is to actually be able to stop him from being able to do all that shenanigans. But the curious thing here is, you know, that we got a trade of blue buffs here. Now the Lilia is staying over here to the top side. We have vertical jungling happening now. So that means Josie's just going to stay down here in the bot side with this Nautilus and Ezreal.
I don't think Josie's going to get an angle with the lane where it is. Papa Chow does have the dredge line to get out of trouble when he's in the middle of a lane like this. He can actually go back towards his turret and get to safety. Of course, the Lynx on the Ezreal with the Arcane Shift is basically impossible to gank with an Udyr until you have 6s come in. The Cleanse is going to be an answer to that Enchanted Crystal Arrow if it comes, so there's just never a kill onto the Ezreal. I guess you can trade, right? That's kind of an idea, is you just go for the play, force out the Cleanse, and then repeat again once the arrow is up and the Cleanse is not, but they're not gonna. They're gonna go back to farming. We're gonna get a bit of a quiet state here while we wait for the next dragon to spawn. I don't think either of these teams gonna be too eager to make something happen when there's nothing on the map to fight for.
I don't know about that one, man. Josie, he's got his bear stance going. He's ready to get some action going. And Strampus has taken 2 tower shots. And that is just going to be a kill secured for this chase here. Crystal Arrow was used, but wasn't able to get there just in time. So, yeah. You know, they said, yeah, you want to say we're sleeping? We're going to start slapping.
All right, well, I'll make an amendment, which is when Strampus is pushed up to turret with no flash, I think AOE Randoms will take their free kill, and now Supernova going for a dive on bot.
Yeah, but they missed the bowling ball. They're not going to be able to get anything onto the wilting lullaby here. They're only laying the damage onto Pockets. Papa Chow has tanked the tower completely, and now has dropped down incredibly low. Beautiful anchor toss to possibly re-engage it, and beautiful bowling ball to come through. Wilt the lullaby, and that is an easy 2 kills grabbed up by Supernova in the bot lane.
Yeah, and that's the price you pay when you show your jungler mid. You know there's no jungler bot. There's no punish for the dive when teleports aren't yet available. Maddie, Lynx, and Papa Chow play it perfectly. They're all there. They're all in the building. They connected the spells they need to. They get themselves 2 kills. They push the wave into turret. Actually still have Maddie sitting around down there, but we're not fighting in top lane.
Yeah, and here's the Dragon Rage kick coming out from the Silas. Chim looking to just push him off. Cozy started that, and now Chim looks like he is looking a lot healthier for it.
Missed opportunity for Cozy to press R at the same time he got R. I'm just saying.
Looking for that moment, you know, the foot 5 as we
I can dream, Travesty.
Toes to toes. Yeah, I get it, man. It's all right. Listen, I won't question. But it is Trumpet's getting his back interrupted there. That's a lot of damage. Just Jace is starting to ramp up on itemization for themselves here as that forces a flash beautifully.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of, I'm not sure. I think that arrow does 500 base, it's like 400 or 500 base damage. That would have been really close to getting the kill on its own.
Oh,
but
death.
Either way, Leo would have been able to finish it off with a shock blast with a CC'd rise hit up by that arrow. So flashing away from that, very important. Actually,
yeah, this looks like this is just going to be Ash dead. There's not much to say here. Shop is TP'd over, trying to just make sure he's in position in case they go for a fight. Drax is not up for another 30 seconds here. So, yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful kill for them to be able to grab onto the Ash and point out one of the heaviest flaws of this champion. Super immobile.
Yeah, when the dredge line hits, and Karasuno has nothing that can be done about that other than die. You're right. It's really not a whole lot going on complicated in that play. It's just Nash pushed up and getting caught out by a Nautilus. We see that Josie is up in top side. They're looking to Aya dive onto Cozy and trade this for the dragon.
Pockets is going to be looking for this. Xenoblade is going to connect. They're going to be able to lay R on the CC. Dragon's Rage Kick was only able to connect onto them. Shim is looking to re-engage. This beautiful flash from Cozy. While this all happened, depth charge into the mid lane. They're looking to continue forward, but the bowling ball only smacks the turret. It's not going to be able to secure anything else from that. Now we got Herald that summoned over into the top side. That's the bot side. You see the Ezreal looking to lay out some damage of their own here. TP coming on through. They are looking to put the pressure onto him. Beautiful Enchanted Crystal Arrow to be able to connect, but Cozy is not done with him just yet. Cozy finds the kill onto Dash.
And Bacchus just hasn't been in lane for a very long while here, Travesty. And Supernova, very aware of that. There's no Leona there to deny these kinds of plays, and so they're going to kill the Ashe, and then they're going to come back and they're going to kill the Ashe again. They're going to get a dragon and the bot turret off of it. It ends up being a trade of turrets, so it might be 2 for 1 on turrets. You see Lynx is getting that bot turret. He's going to be able to knock that down, but Chim going to be able to get 2 turrets topped with the help of the Herald, so...
Yeah, this is honestly really, really good, especially because a lot of these itemization choices that they've made here in the early to mid are really strong. Like, you actually saw the Ezreal, instead of going for a Maramana right off the get-go, has just grabbed the Divine Sunderer. That's a lot of damage that comes out once Ezreal is able to finish off the Sheen item in general. It's honestly very, very disgusting what we are seeing in terms of the damage builds that are coming out here. I do want to see what AOE random response is going to be, right? The gold is actually completely even because they were able to grab 2 turrets topside. So, you know, very much so reminiscent to the last game. 1 Herald, 2 towers up in the top lane yet again.
Yeah, my concern is that this Ashe is really, really far behind. Karasuno at 90 CS down, almost 30 CS with 3 deaths. Just gonna be behind the curve as a marksman, not gonna be pumping out the damage needed to get through these kind of semi-tanks as well as was happening last game. Karasuno was a monstrous Ashe in that game. This game really far behind, just a target, you know? It's a cleanseless, summonerless Ashe for most of this game with no support nearby, and Supernova are taking advantage of it. They've got the tools to punish this, they've got the tools to keep that Ashe down, and we'll see if they keep going for it, because Ezreal pretty good if he can be ahead of the Ashe.
Yeah, and it's hard to be the king of the court if you're missing arrows like that as well, too. And it's hard to hit him onto a Lilia, to be fair. Like, look at him prancing around there, making everybody angry. It's just like, this deer is too fast. I can't hit it with nothing.
She's just trotting everywhere, man. How are you supposed to hit a deer trotting? Like, it's just too speedy. Too much zoom.
Fast. The secret I've heard is play Graves, because, you know, shotgun in the jungle.
Come on, man. You don't got to do that to, like, Bambi's mom like that.
I didn't... listen. Lilia is definitely a champion that we've seen that matchup and see how it's gone though. But over here, it's just seeing a little bit of dancing around in the mid lane, just seeing them moving around inside these lanes and stuff like that. And nothing too crazy really happening at the current moment in time. You can see AOE randoms just trying to get the lanes in a way that they prefer. Ashe is all by themselves yet again, and you can see how far back they're looking to play until Pockets rejoins the fray.
Yeah, and Karasuno just not safe to be in bot lane anymore, especially with that turret gone. The Ashe just can't be there anymore, which is why like you have to send the Ashe into mid. You can't farm safely in the side lane. It's just way too vulnerable to literally every member of Supernova showing up and 1v1ing that Ashe is probably in the cards. I'm pretty sure even the support Nautilus might be able to get something going his way if he had all cooldowns on that Ignite up. So Karasuno has to be mid, has to be respectful, but at least when you're mid, you know, your teammates can be nearby.
And you can see this right here. Papa Chow looking for the pick onto Josie. Beautifully done here. They are going to be able to get a lot of CC. The acceleration gate is there to provide a little bit of support for the team. And we'll be able to get away. But beautiful catch to come out there. And really, Supernova looking very proactive and looking like they're just controlling the tempo of this game here. A completely different beast here. But it's still the same Ezreal, baby. He's still popping off. 3-0-3 today on game number 2. Popped off game number 1, looking to repeat it tenfold.
And you see Link's just taking advantage of the cleanse, knowing even if I get ulted under turret, I'll just cleanse and be fine. The Sunderer damage comes in. It's doing a lot. Here's team fight though.
For him. They got the CC onto him. He already used cleanse. It's not going to be enough. Trumpet, you're a little bit late for this, buddy. He's going to find himself going down. He gets the tower on the back end of it, but still, that is a double kill over to Leo in the mid lane.
Yeah, that teleport was not particularly good. That's reminiscent of the Kobe that teleport sucked clip from season 1 or 2 of League of Legends, because that teleport sucked, man. It was a 1v4 teleport. I think it's the only redeeming quality was while he was there, you know, he's right next to a turret, may as well throw an auto attack at it and get that turret knocked down. So they get something for it, but still not ideal. You don't really want to burn a summoner spell just to die. So after getting that kill on Ashe, Supernova stay a little far forward. AOE randoms use the tools at their disposal to get a couple picks and get themselves the second Herald of the game. And we'll see what they can do with that. They're kind of keeping the gold lead even. They might be down a kill, but with the pressure, with the objectives, they're able to keep it right up.
Yep, and things that I do want to keep note of there too is Ezreal staying around a little bit there. They noticed that the cleanse was taken off. AOE randoms noticed that and immediately acted. You have to keep that in your mind now if you're Supernova. Whenever you use this cleanse, you are looking at a situation where they might just re-engage on top of you. And now having to be careful about that, knowing that, hey, they know how to layer on their CC. That's going to be on the back of Ezreal's mind here. Ezreal, you can see, just trying to play a little bit more precautious with the positioning available. And over in the top side, I mean, AOE randoms are consistently just shoving in this top wave over and over again.
And I mean, they're trading a shove in top lane in the top side jungle for this dragon. AOE randoms is making the call that they simply don't want to fight over it. It's an interesting decision. I think they had most ultimates available for that fight, but they want no part in it. They're going to deny some waves, get some jungle camps, and get themselves tied up in gold with that play instead of going for the dragon. Of course, there is no soul coming in too soon, so not the end of the world either way. But interesting, you know, last game we kind of saw Supernova desperately vying for every dragon they could no matter what. And AOE Random saying, you know what? Sure, man, you can have it. We don't care.
Yeah, and it's AOE Randoms, you know, kind of not playing like they did in the last game, and note that this Supernova looking to get the catch out there. You love to see it. They said, we see you pockets you away from your team. We're going to be able to shed some light on that and shut you down.
I'm not sure if that was Flash or Hex Flash from Papa Chow. Either way, it surprised me, so it certainly surprised Bacchus too. And
I think it was Flash.
That's just a free kill, you know, and that's going to get some pressure. You've got a couple people in side lanes. This Ashe now very vulnerable in mid lane. You see Karasuno just going to have to recall probably if Supernova keep pushing up, but it doesn't look like they're going to. They're just going to go for this red buff instead.
I mean, they don't really have any objectives that they can really get right now. Silas is up in the top side, and this is kind of where we're seeing AOE randoms kind of having one of their weird situations where they're kind of lost on the map for themselves. They have some strong members, but they're trying to figure out exactly how they can get these strong members into play. And here is the strong member onto the team. Speaking of the devil, Leo is here. And, you know, this hammer is hurting very much so. It will put you in a critical condition. We get to see the 1v1 between these two over here into the top side. It's not going to be a 1-for-1, not for very long. Get the Wilton Lullaby to come on in. Beautiful interruption there. They're going to be able to secure him for a bit. Safeguard is going to be able to buy them some time, but now it's Jim re-jumping into this. Kingslayer beautifully played out, but Maddie's going to be able to secure the kill. Josie now looking to try and fight a little bit more as you have Leo over here onto the side. Crystal Arrow is going to be able to connect. The damage might already be done by Papa Chow. It's going to be a lot more. Maddie's going to find himself getting taken out by Leo. Leo's over here onto the side, pre-hitting away on this team fight, but so is Strumpus. Double kill for Leo at this current moment in time. Make it a triple, but it's Ezreal that will come up big at the end of the fight, and Supernova stand tall.
It's a 3-for-3 travesty, and that's a really well-played fight by both teams. You see a lot going on. It's kind of links on this Ezreal in the AOE randoms backline, while it's Leo on the Jace in the Supernova team. And both of them just picking up kills left, right, and center, doing all of the damage they could to try and get that fight for themselves. At the end of the day, it is Leo dying and giving over a shutdown. And it is the Ezreal getting that kill and the double buffs, as well as a turret on the tail end of it. So it's a very slight win for Supernova. But, I mean, it's a little worrying if you're Supernova, because Leo got 3 kills too. That Jace was scary going into that fight, and he's a lot more scary coming out of it. They're going to need to have an answer for him, and they're going to need to play around it, because that Jace gets to do more fights like that with those extra kills in his back pocket. It's going to start getting messy.
This Jace right now 6-1-0. Leo putting in work on the champion here for the second time in a row here inside this series. But now we got the Herald that is going to be summoned into the mid lane, was able to get the charge off, so that is a tower 2 fall gold, just about even here at this current moment in time. Only on about a 1.5k difference between these two. And, you know, with them having a Drake coming up in the next minute or so here, it's going to, I feel like we're going to have a big fight around this Drake, right? This is going to be, if Supernova gets this puts them right at Soul Point.
I mean, if we're willing to 5v5 in top lane for the top outer turret, we're certainly going to be willing to 5v5 around this dragon coming up in a minute. There's going to be most cooldowns available for both teams. I think there's a couple summoners that were blown in that top lane fight that are not going to be up yet. Some flashes for Karasuno Leo, as well as Strumpus, Lynx, and Cozy. So those 5 flashless, that's going to be a big thing. You know, if you get on the Ashe, you get on the Jace, they're going to go down. So Supernova can be proactive, and you see them starting to work their way towards the vicinity of the dragon. Cozy going to get bot prio to try to help out. Not really sure where Papa Chow's off to, but he'll be down here soon enough too, and they're going to be in the river setting up for this.
Papa Chow is just, you know, he's vibing. He's doing his own thing, man. He's got his playlist pumping, you know. He's ready to go. But over here, you do see Ezreal laying in some work for his team here, laying in some damage of his own. Has that Divine Sunderer, that Grudge, the Muramana. It's all there, and there's Ezreal is just completely online. And also, look at the itemization that's came out for the Rise here. Decided to go for that Hourglass as the second item, which I am a much bigger fan than going for that Saracen Brace second item like he did last game. This gives them so much more survivability in these fights.
Yeah, and when you have a Jace building Eclipse and Lethality, the armor goes a long way. Here's the fight, though.
Ooh, beautiful. They got the catch onto Ezreal, but forced the cleanse. Now, over here onto the side, Chim is definitely looking for an angle of some sort, but oh, the damage onto the Ashe on the back end of it. This is going to dissuade them from being able to fight this.
Yeah, and with the arrow gone and with the Ashe chunked down to 300 HP, the fight's just a little too tough for AOE randoms. They say, you know what? Our AD carry can't really be in this fight. We don't have our long-range engage tool. Just walking up and saying, fight me, probably isn't going to be a successful formula. So they're going to back off. They're going to forfeit that dragon. It is the cleanse from Lynx that's able to kind of buy that, you know? It's just the fact that cleanse exists. You walk up, you eat the arrow, you cleanse it, and say, all right, cool. Now you have no engage. Thanks for the dragon. And that's exactly what Supernova do to put themselves back on the Soul Point. And Infernal Soul, one of the most powerful ones, especially when you're rocking a comp with someone like Ezreal, who can apply it super consistently with those Mystic shots.
Absolutely, man. And this is honestly Supernova looking in complete control right now. The gold lead not huge, but it's definitely a game where Supernova is dictating the pace of everything. They are calling the shots. And when AOE think that they have an answer to whatever question Supernova is going to throw their way, they change the question every single time. Supernova doing a fantastic job staying just one step ahead of AOE random so far. And look at this beautiful positioning around this Baron pit from Supernova to try and, you know, force them into this situation where they face check, where they take something that they do not favor. Wait a second, over here in the bot side, we got a tower dive going on. Cozy taking a good amount of damage here, but Jim will be able to escape with his own life as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. These top laners still duking it out. They might be in bot lane, but that doesn't mean they can't go head to head and just smash their faces into one another and see who ends up with a slightly bigger health bar. You see Cozy going to have to recall to get away from that one. Doesn't want to go down. Straup is going to rotate down to bot lane to catch that for him instead. Of course, both of them have teleport, so either one can come up and join the Baron fight if it's needed. But we're not going to fight around Baron. Travesty, we're just going to chill. We're going to relax. We're going to fish with some swirl seeds, see if we can't put someone to sleep. And until then, Supernova down to wait for this soul, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the big game plan that they're kind of looking at right now. And I want to talk about a situation that happened off the back of that that was actually very, very scary for me to be to witness to. We actually saw a situation where everybody kind of scrambled after that 1v1 in the bot side, and you saw Ezreal poking at them with nobody else around him and no cleanse. That's a scary situation to be at, and you actually saw Josie turn around and immediately like go in the bear stance, like look at him. But ooh, the arrow, the solar flare, chain it together, and what do you got? The Ezreal going to be able to survive here. The bear slap into the backline. Ezreal's trying to kite this out into the backline, but it is going to be successful. They're going to be able to route the rest of the squad here. Ezreal finally falls, but it's by Chim's hand. It's just 2 members left alive for AOE randoms in comparison to the 4 of Supernova. They're looking for possibly more swirls, so you're not going to be able to connect. Chim does have the depth charge available. It is going to be this Ashe getting eviscerated, and now Chim is over here, full HP, depth charge in the pocket, looking to try and play spoiler to this Baron buff. Will he be able to? It looks like he's just going to say, no, I will not sacrifice my life for this, and just try to get the wave in a decent spot.
Yeah, that's a fight that looks amazing for AoE randoms. The arrow connects onto Lynx when he doesn't have cleanse. You see Pacus layering his CC right after it, one after the other after the other. But then Lynx gets out of there. He has his arcane shift, he has his flash, he is able to put 2 screens between himself and the rest of the AoE randoms team, and yet Josie dives in, Leo dives in, they're fishing for it, they want that kill, they're focused so hard. All of a sudden, Supernova have just destroyed AoE randoms. They've won the fight. They've gotten all the kills they needed. Everyone dove in way too far for that Ezreal. Strumpus is causing havoc in the backline, cleaning up, chasing up kills. And it's just a disaster for AoE randoms. They thought they had a kill. They tunneled on it, and it did not work out in the slightest.
Not at all. Now we got a Baroned up Supernova. They're looking to press this advantage further here. Jim still has that depth charge available for him. Solar Flare going to be able to connect onto Maddie. Over here onto the bat side. Pockets is 1v1 into Ezreal. Not a fight I would recommend it. Supernova's going to be able to find this one in front of themselves. Ezreal's now going to be able to free hit. Double kill coming through. Going to make that another one as Maddie's going to go onto a killing spree. This all started with a pick from AoE randoms, and now they're looking to make sure they don't live to tell any tales. It's going to be a shutdown coming over. Leo going to be able to find one person on the back end, but it's an ace all the same. And Supernova looking like they are in complete control. It is just looking like it's their game.
And I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's an unofficial penta here for Lynx. I think he got a triple and then a double. They weren't able to get those last 2 kills
No,
quite in time.
he didn't get an unofficial penta. Maddie got a kill.
Oh, it was so it was 2 doubles. My bad.
Yeah, Maddie stole it. Maddie stole it. He was the scumbag here. Remember to report him at the end of the game here. But yeah, that is going to be a Nexus Tower. One get 1, make it 2. This is Nexus gone, man. They're just Supernova's picking up the dub here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic fight from them. They had the engage onto Cozy, but he had a stopwatch. And as soon as the CC stopped, the Lee Sin went golden. And once that Lee Sin was golden, that fight was lost for AoE randoms. They had full scent on trying to get that kill. It suddenly wasn't available anymore. And in this fight, you had Lynx on the Ezreal ready to free fire, throwing out Qs with no worries whatsoever. And when you've got that fed Ezreal with a ton of items, throwing out abilities, throwing out auto attacks with no one to threaten him, you're going to win that fight every time if you're Supernova. It works out great for them. They take the fight with the Baron buff. They push. They take the game. They tie the series up, Travesty.
They definitely did here, and they did it in a very convincing fashion, honestly. I feel like they were in control of the pace of that match throughout the entire bit of it, and really and truly, Supernova, they said, they proved everybody what they said, what we said at the very beginning. They said, oh, the composition itself wasn't the flaw. We'll make a couple tweaks here, but our individual play can be fine. It was just our team play needs to come together the way they needed to, and we got to see it come to fruition here for Supernova here in game number 2. We're going into game number 3, Cole.
It's a do or die. It was a do or die series, Travesty. We're going to a do or die game. There is one game of League of Legends left. It is going to be that game that decides which of these teams advance. It is going to be that game that figures out who's eliminated. It's it. They're going to have to go for it. This is all of it on the line. This is your tournament life in one game of League of Legends. It's going to be decided in the next 30 minutes on the Rift. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be some action. We've had 2 great games so far. We're going to have to see some adaptations from AOE randoms. What worked in game 1 didn't work in game 2. So curious to see what these teams are going to pull out. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what we'll get.
Me as well. With that being said, we are going to take ourselves a short break. When we come back, we're going to be going into the decisive game number 3 here between these 2 teams with everything on the line. So make sure you do not go anywhere. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are going into game number 3 here. I'm Travesty. I'm joined by Coleslaw, and we are in for what is going to be a fantastic game 3. Everything is on the line for both of these teams to continue forward here inside a cup.
Yeah, of course, this is about advancement into Cup. This is also about qualification into Risen. I believe Risen is going to be accepting the top 8 teams in Cup, so if you can win here, then you can automatically skip open qualifiers for the next Proving Grounds tournament. So there's a lot on the line in this one game. You want to win this tournament, you want to auto-qualify for the next tournament. Those are two great things, so it's a lot at stake. It's a lot on the line. I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, but it's an important point to make. This is stressful. This is the biggest game of the season so far for either of these teams, either of these rosters. This is the highest stakes they will have faced so far in League of Legends. And that's when you really put experience and kind of calmness to the test. You don't want to let your nerves get the better of you.
Yeah, but look at this, man. They ban away the Ezreal by randoms. They said you're too good on the champion. They take the Rumble, which had these clean equalizers throughout. Now, they Supernova, what do you end up deciding you want to grab for yourselves here? We've seen them picking the Ashe every single time from the side of randoms, but yet again, Supernova say, hey, yo, Lee Sin, leave it up. We take those.
Yeah, I mean, Cozy likes Lee Sin. It's all I can say about that is, pretty good pick. And they're also going to go for the Nautilus. That's a pretty reasonable pickup as well. Nautilus is 2-0 in the series. It's been a big win or a big pickup for both teams when they won their games. So Supernova saying maybe Nautilus is the thing that's putting these games over the edge. Maybe Nautilus is what's enabling it. They're going to prioritize it here. They'll say you can take Leona if you want it, or
I was wondering when this was going to come into the game here. If it does get locked in, Senna did actually get some buffs to the lethality version, but we have seen it be prioritized throughout the scene for many different combos, and Jace locked in as well. So we will see that in an insta lock on the Tristana here.
yeah, and Tristana is what was allowed through bans by AOE randoms that had been banned away. Ezreal took its place. Supernova say, well, don't mind if we do. Lynx is nuts on Tristana, has been able to go aggressive, make games his own on that champion. The bomb just has so much damage. You can dive in and explode anyone if you get a little bit ahead. So I like that pickup for Supernova. Lynx going to be plenty comfortable on that. And Tristana, arguably the strongest meta marksman right now. So I think they're quite happy to have that instead of the Ezreal.
Yeah, quite a bit of power, and I like what Supernova is doing here. They see the Senna and they say, you know what, let's get rid of some of the champions that work really well together with Senna, right? Let's get rid of Tom Kenshin, that's they get rid of Seth. This is beautifully done by their part. Now the question is there are AOE randoms willing to flex around this Jace?
Yeah, I mean, it's been mid. It's gone to Leo both times. It is viable in the top lane. They could pull it up there if they wanted to. I've also said Rumble, it's a flex pick to mid lane. You can send it mid, and it's great there. Some people would argue that is its better role. Freak would argue that is its better role if you've seen him using stats to defend that one. It's kind of a valid point, in a lot of play. He's got the push, he's got the roam potential, so I like that pick in mid lane, but we'll have to see how things go. AOE randoms probably going to be sending those back to where they were in the game that they won. You kind of don't want to be innovating and trying new things when you just got one game to get you over the edge and you've won a game this series. You won that game with Rumble Jungle, so why not go back to Rumble Jungle?
Well, we do see what could possibly be an Udyr lock-in here. So we did see this in game number 1. Maddie didn't have a bad performance on the Udyr, so he's just going to walk his way back into this champion here. And now, randoms, it's going to have to show a lot here. They're going to show their support and their other solo lane. Maokai would be a very curious case in the support role here.
Yeah, and Maokai works well with Senna because he can farm while she fasts. And then he's effectively just a tank. He gets his items. He likes getting an early Sunfire Locket or even a Turbo Chem tank. Any one of those three is fine on him. And he works well as a front line if he's allowed to farm down in bottom lane. He also answers Tristana reasonably well because she can't blow him up because he has healing. He has that invulnerability frames when he presses W. So I like that pickup, and I'm really interested to see how that lane goes. I think that's a really good lock-in for AoE randoms.
There's a lot of beef in their front line for the randoms.
Yeah, with the Sion too.
Maokai, Sion, man. Listen, they are a indomitable duo is what they're going to look to try and be to answer from Supernova. They need a way to be able to cut down this forest, to cut through the beef what is the answer that they are going to look to grab? Yet
It's
again,
Rise.
they go to Faithful. Strumpus on Rise, baby. 3 games in a row, he's gotten it.
Yeah, I mean, they just keep last pick and Rise. They're saying, you know what? We like this champion. Strumpus, he likes that champion. We're going to go ahead and keep taking it. And they're going to go ahead and keep taking it. Now, he's fine into tanks. You can go a different mythic against extra tanky teams. He's been going Everfrost the first 2 games, but Leandries is perfectly playable on Rise as well. I think it's going to be the right choice here in a game against a farming Maokai and a farming Scion. You really are going to be looking for more damage to melt through that front line. The Lee Sin never going to be able to do that. The Nautilus on Udi are certainly not going to be able to do that. And Tristana doesn't really want to be on hit tank duty in team fights a lot of the time. She's got that reset. She's got that jump. She wants to be going in and killing the backline in most situations. So it's going to fall to someone to do that damage. And I think it might be Strumpus. He's got a lot of DPS on the mid to late game Rise, and Leandries might be able to get that going. So I want to see that item from him. But I like the pickup, and I think it rounds out the Supernova composition really well.
The scariest thing that I feel like we do have to address, right? Like you do see a lot of these teams this composition from Supernova, besides the Tristana, is relatively short range going into this kind of a composition. So we're gonna have to keep our eyes exactly how that plays a part inside of this game. When you have a bunch of short range people going into something like a Rumble, Scion, Maokai, Senna, like these champions here, they're like, oh yes, you can come close range to the Scion, the Maokai, and to the Rumble, and they will melt you, and Jace can pick you apart on those situations. So, going to keep our eyes, especially on that positioning.
Yeah, when Supernova want to walk up and they want to get close and start doing damage to AOE randoms, they are going to need to be deliberate about it. It is not, you cannot just kind of walk up and say hello and pass close by someone. You need to be ready to put up your fists and defend yourself, man. You got to have those arms up, hands up, be ready to throw a punch yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So I think that's a good call out. The Jace is going to outrange everyone. A Senna who can stack well is going to outrange everyone. And that can be a problem. The Rumble, of course, has Equalizer. That's going to be one of the longest range tools in this game. So I think that's a really good call out. Supernova, of course, do have the engage tools to get onto those long range champions. You do have this Nautilus to make fights start. You do have a Lee Sin who can always go for plays if he really needs to. You kind of remember the insect play. It's still there. We don't see it nearly as often, but it's an option if you need it. And if you can find it on a Center or on a Jace, it's totally playable if you're Supernova. They're just going to need to make sure that they find those things, because they cannot dance for long when they are eating Shock Blast, eating Centipoke, eating just everything from the Rumble to it. It's going to be bad, and I mean, AoE randoms have a composition that has no issues getting into fights either. They can pull the trigger damn well whenever they please.
Snap of the fingers, man. That's all it takes. They are willing, and able to be able to go for those situations, and that's something to keep our eyes on, man. As this game goes on, the proactivity, we have seen that time and time again, and it's just a standard rule inside of League of Legends. Whenever you get to see the team be able to be proactive and be able to dictate the pace, that's usually the team that's able to come out on top, right? They're the one that are controlling the pace of and flow of the game, and both these teams have tools at their disposal to be those proactive teams. Supernova have a lot of ways to start everything. You get to see over onto the other side of things. They have a lot of tanks that are able to initiate things for themselves over onto the side of AoE randoms. This is a game where both teams have tools for success. It's all going to be about how they apply them.
Yeah, and sometimes what I like to look for in these kind of high pressure games is just ease of execution. When the nerves are high, it's sometimes good to just pick a comp that plays itself. And I think in that situation, I got to give the nod to AoE Random's draft here. You know, it's not really rocket science what they want to do. They want to send Maokai and Scion in. They want to throw an equalizer down on top of whoever they lock over, and then the Jason Senna can fire from a screen away and just do damage to whoever they damn well please. And that composition is super easy. It's anytime there's an objective, anytime there's a fight, if it comes down to a 5v5, they have that extremely clear, easy to execute front to back team fight. And that can work for them if they get ahead. But there are risks. It's not as simple as that. The Tristana can jump in. The Rise can roam warp back. There's ways for Supernova to complicate things, to make things more tricky, but they're going to need to be sharp with that execution. We can't have any of those roam warps we saw from game one, where Strumpus roam warps into 4 people and explodes. Or sorry, it was Maddie taking the roam warp into 4 people and exploding, rather.
Yes.
None of that's going to fly in this game. You cannot do that if you're Supernova. You need to be accurate, precise, and on point with everything you do when it comes down to big team fights.
I have to see if that comfort will allow them to be able to do that. They do have a lot of champions they're comfortable on. Have to see if that will be something they'll be able to walk away and pick up the dub here today with everything on the line. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take ourselves a short break. When we come back, we're going to be going into game number 3. So make sure you do not touch that browser. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. You get to see our faces before we go into
Uh-oh.
game number 3.
There we go.
There we go. We're
Yay!
in the game. We had you load up. It just, our producer just wanted you guys to see our faces before we go into what is a high stakes game number 3 here between
boy.
AOE Randoms and
Papa
Supernova.
Chow.
Papa Chow, you're going to get Papa popped here. You better watch out. The exhaust being used. Is going to use the anchor toss, is going to be able to get out of there, realize very quickly that is the wrong neighborhood to be inside of.
That's a great reaction from Papa Chow to get the heck out of Dodge. He walked into the wrong neighborhood, and AOE Randoms came very close to securing that kill. I think Chim waited a little too long to execute that Q. He saw the Nautilus able to flash out of there, and then a good dredge line skill to get himself some distance. And that means that even with the slow, he's able to walk out of there thanks to some help from Strompus, starting that rune prison to get a bit of a slow and buy that Nautilus a little more space. So interesting level 1. There's no summoner flash on this Nautilus. There's no exhaust on Pockets. It's just a trade of 1-for-1 on Stumps, which may have some implications for a bot lane where these 2v2 lanes have killed each other. There's been 2v2 kills early on in these lanes, both games. It's been where First Blood has happened both times. So maybe those summoners are going to lead to another First Blood down there yet again.
I mean, both these junglers are starting on their top side camps too, right? Like, so this could very necessarily be that situation because their pathing is going to lead them naturally down here. And you can see already, Papa Chow says, I don't need flash. I just go in. I'm going forward here, looking to just lay in some harass onto this Maokai and trying to see what they can do. And this is a very healthy bot lane if you're not careful with the Senna Maokai. They have so much sustain in this bot side.
Yeah, I'm not sure I love taking the level 1 trades like that because you have Senna with her Q, you have Maokai with his passive, and by those powers combined, they get a lot of free HP out of nowhere a lot of the time. You see Pocket's already back to full. I think he has popped... No, he hasn't even popped Potion. Doran Shield's 450.
Oh,
here's the fight.
Here we go. They're looking for the fight here. Beautiful on the W to be able to get the root onto 2. Is going to force the flash away from the Senna. Pocket's going to look to get engaged from 2. Papa Chow not in turret range just there as they tried to find a new target. Going to be able to get the root yet again on this Tristana, but not going to be anything further to come out of it as this bot lane, they're looking to scrap, man.
Yeah, you know, you blow 2 summoners and you say, all right, we've got a flash burned on the Nautilus, we got an exhaust burned on the Maokai, let's beat each other up. That's what they're going for. Both junglers working their way down. Josie going to be the first one there. He's eyeing up a gank right now, and that could be dangerous. There are flashes on Lynx. There's Hex Flash on Papa Chow, but... Wait, where is Papa Chow? Wait, he
Papa Chow
recalled.
bat. He recalled. Yeah, they weren't able to get the slow one to him. They will be able to get the Dark Harvest, so this will cost him a flash, but... a little bit greedy in regards to that play there. Josie looking to go up now, but this is Maddie getting the scuttle with Josie can't contest this.
No, he can't, but he's trying.
Yeah, put him in the rune prison, throw away the key. Papa Chow, hook, line, and sinker.
Ooh.
First blood going over to Supernova.
Yeah, and the only thing you hate to see there is that the kill goes onto the Nautilus. Papa Chow picking up that kill, not nearly as good as it going onto someone like Strompus who's there in the fight, but First Blood's First Blood. You take that kill if you can get it. That buys you time, that buys you pressure, it buys you experience. Maddie gonna be able to double scuttle Josie on the back of that, so it's a big win for Supernova. They are able to punish Josie for trying to contest that crap. He ganked bot, and then he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You can see here, Maddie leading up here towards this top side, looking to get aggressive on the Chim. How dare you come into my bush here? Bear slap him away and clear away the ward.
No.
Not going to be able to grab it on the back end of that. Unfortunate for him, but this bot lane is not a healthy place for this Tristana still, though. Tristana did not get the recall.
No, Lynx has just been stuck here, and you actually see Josie looking around. This is a dive.
Yeah, it's a dive coming up. There is a TP being used, double TP, as they're looking to just jump on the Papa Chow even further. Chim gets taken out over in the top side. Strompus joins them in the bot lane. But that was a 4-man dive down here in the bot side.
Yeah, that's a lot of commitment for what ends up being a 1-for-1 across the map. You see they get the kill onto Chim to answer it. It's kind of cross-map plays. There's no objective. There's not even a plate on the tail end of it. And Strompus with plenty of HP to come back and just wave cleared safely. So not really a big win for AOE randoms. They're blowing Leo's teleport. They're sending everyone, and they don't get a lot across the map. Of course, they do get a kill onto Leo on this chase. He's been a huge factor in this series so far. game one was really a massive pop-off from him, so gotta be happy to have double buffs and a kill on him, just not a gold lead generated from it.
And not a gold lead at all. And another thing is the TP was forced by Chim to be used to get back into lane.
Oh.
Anchor almost connecting there. And that could have been a very scary situation for this chase to be inside of. Strumpus is a little bit low on mana, but this is right now, that's a lot of things that are in favor of Supernova being able to grab a Drake here if they so choose, please.
Yeah, and one of the fun things to call out about that Nautilus hook is that sometimes it can be closer than it looks. There's this thing called lollipopping, where at the very end of a skill shot, it kind of gets a little bigger, or like a lollipop on a stick to check and see if it hits, to adjust for kind of network connectivity and lag. And that means that sometimes those dredge lines at the very tip do more damage. I'm going to stop talking about lollipopping because Cozy's in trouble.
Yeah, talking about lollipopping, we need to talk about who's getting popped. Cozy's going to find himself getting cooked up, and Chim going to be able to find that kill secured for themselves.
And that's just how it goes sometimes, you know? It's that unstoppable onslaught from the Scion coming in. He's got the damage with his jungler support, but there's Punish on the other side of the map. Anytime you gank top lane when Dragon is alive, you know what happens, Travesty? You lose Dragon.
Yeah, and it's just textbook right there. Manny doing a fantastic job yet again, making sure that he's at the right place at the right time to be able to make sure Supernova is able to get an advantage. And Supernova have been, in for the most part, controlling a lot of these Drakes in the early game. So you can definitely see that pressure that Maddie's been able to apply on the jungle role here has been consistent down here towards this Drake objective.
Yeah, and he's just making it happen. Supernova likes stacking these early dragons. AOE randoms have been generally willing to give them away, so it's going to be another relevant soul here. We have Cloud going over Ocean next, so it's going to be Mountain or Infernal, but here's a fight.
Yeah, the engage coming through. They know Jazzy's over here onto the side. It's going to be the rocket jump that's going to spell doom for the Tristana there. It's going to be able to get away, thankfully for themselves there, as that equalizer was not something they were expecting.
Now you saw Lynx burn the jump and then immediately was sitting on top of that equalizer, taking a ton of damage. Cozy's teleported down, so Supernova feeling some pressure to try to make something happen here. You've got the Scion free in top lane, but Strumpus.
Yeah, it's not as free as you might think, man. He is in for life. Throw away the key, man. Chim is out yet again, but over onto the bot side, Papa Chow is getting hit up by some hot pursuit. Is going to have to flash over this wall. Is looking to see if he's going to have to burn it, but will absolutely have to.
I like that, just standing there thinking about it, saying, oh man, am I really going to have to flash this? And the answer
He
is
could have taken
Papa Chow.
Pockets with him, right? Like, if he waited until, if Pockets W there, I mean, he'll go for a ride there. It'll be a wild one indeed, too, as everybody else from Supernova there was waiting in open arms. And here comes a re-engage coming on through. Nice stuff coming in. Beautiful work from Pockets. Just null and void everything they wanted to do. And that is an easy 2 kills secured by AOE randoms.
Yeah, that was just a little smash into the ground by that Maokai saying, hey, you wanted to jump on me? No, none of that. And with a summoner advantage in that fight, AOE randoms probably were just stronger the whole time, and Lynx just wasn't able to get damage down onto either Pockets or Karasuno, and the heal was there in case it got close. So I don't know. That feels like a bit of a miscalculation by Supernova. Feels like maybe they didn't expect the good reaction speed from Pockets to deny the rocket jump. Either way, that's going to cost them 2 kills in a play that they chose to take, and that's a pretty big mistake. That's going to put the Senna ahead. It's going to put the Maokai ahead, and that's a big win for AoE randoms.
Yeah, you gotta keep that in your mind. Maokai, expert at being able to disrupt fights. It's one of the things that he's best at. And look at this rotation coming up here now. Pockets, you see the Senna coming up here. This bot lane is ready to go for this Herald. Supernova are lagging behind on this play. There is no Drake for them to be able to trade this for. So this is AoE randoms just getting an easy Herald for free.
Yeah, it's rotating the bot lane up means there's not enough people to contest. You actually see Maddie is down here as well. He's kind of zooming around the bot lane as that man, bear, turtle, monkey, phoenix. And
Monkey? As a monkey stance?
no, it's his passive is monkey's agility. I'm just saying, there's monkey in Udyr.
I've never heard somebody bring that.
It's there. There's 5 animals, Travesty. 5. You can count? In any case, Chim gonna be a target yet again.
Oh, Chim getting jumped onto. Yeah, this is just a fair splat. He's gonna have to just try and get out of harm's way. He's trying to get into a position where he can get away. Beautiful flash to come out, because if he slings down that axe, he would have gone down. But They put so much attention to this bot side. This is just going to be an easy take on this top lane tower. First break to AOE.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of taking a Herald, is there was no objective down here to take. They weren't able to find the kill on the dive. So even though we see Cozy backing off, he's not even trying to contest that. It's a win for AOE randoms. They get that Herald, they get that turret. They're going to get a second donk, and still no one's up here. No one's looking. No one's in the neighborhood.
No, look at it. They're diving mid, dude. Like, they're like, oh, yo, let's get this chase. Like, yet again, for the third game in a row, the top two towers fall in favor of AOE random.
At least they get the one bot and a couple plates mid. I mean, if AOE randoms wanted to, they literally could have escorted that Herald and taken an inhibitor turret, and nothing would have stopped them. You don't want to take an inhibitor there, but inhibitor turret's not bad. It's not worth as much gold as the other ones, but Cozy is here. He's not going to let that happen. He's going to pick up the wave. So, end of the day, it is 2 turrets to 1. It does generate a very slight gold lead for AOE randoms. They're up a little less than 1,000 gold, so nothing too substantial, but Supernova, like, they're just saying, all right, screw it, we don't need those top turrets. Who cares about those?
Listen, the third game in a row it's happened, man. Like, they definitely do not care about these top lane towers. They're like, yo, we're scrap, we'll throw down. Towers, what are those? We don't need them. And it's just like, if it doesn't take out our opponent, not about it.
Well, we've got the Ocean's Dragon up. It does not look like Supernova have any interest in contesting it. They've got Link's top lane, so there's no chance they can.
There's no way they'd be able to. This is easy just for them to be able to grab here. Tristana is getting a lot of gold in their pocket from doing this, though, because they got all the plates and a tower down bot side. They're going to get some plates up top lane, too. So they're just focused on trying to get this Tristana some more gold in their pocket after having a rough go at things inside the lane phase.
Yeah, Lynx is a little bit behind on farm, only 80 farm at 12 minutes. That is not a ton. It's more than Pacus, but you'd expect to have more than Pacus in that melee versus range matchup. So you want to get caught up to speed, maybe get back into Strampus neighborhood, where I want to point out Strampus is a monster at farming on this rise. He has been 10 CS per minute, above 10 CS per minute, every game this series, and this game is no exception. He finds a way to last at every single creep on the map.
I mean, this is why it's such a comfortable pick for them. And you can see this, Sion, using this. Chim is on a champion for the first time inside this, where he is not the aggressor at this current moment in time. He's playing this tank, this beefy man that's going to be in the front line. And he's had a lot of pressure thrown his way. He is not dealing with any possible setup that could come from Supernova.
You know, I love when that Scion pops the unstoppable onslaught and he yells cowards while
he's running away.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, coward! Honestly, it's fantastic.
He's just bravely running away and calling his opponents cowards for trying to fight him, you know? That's what a coward is.
Oh, he's calling them cowards because they're not chasing him. That's what it is.
Of course. You should just be diving turrets to chase the Scion. That's what a good team does.
Exactly. Well, not a good team, a brave team.
It's a fair distinction to make. In any case, it's a good use of that ult, you know? You don't know who's coming. You don't want to get kicked back into turret and find that suddenly you're outnumbered 1-on-3. So Jim gonna not play with fire, not gonna risk it. That ultimate cooldown will be back soon enough. He doesn't need it for anything important when Dragon's already down. So good safe play by him, and the answer is a play up top side. Link's gonna be getting some more plates. Plates haven't even fallen yet.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting spot. The Equalizer over here onto the side. Trumpets is able to join the fray, but Papa Chow has been caught up, and so has the Tristana. The power of the Maokai coming into play, tangling everybody in their path. Over in the bot side, you see Chim and Cozy looking to fight it out between the two of them. Just a little bit of a tango between the two, and not much else to come out here. Cozy and Chim are just going to be slapping around each other for a bit here.
And that's a pretty big disaster for Supernova, to be honest. They had 4 people committed to that play before AOE randoms even had a third. And despite it being a 4-on-2 for a bit of time, it's Supernova that loses it. They lose 2. You saw Papa Chow picked up turret aggro underneath the turret, got locked down and fell down. Then Lynx got hit up by that twisted advance from Pacus and went down too. And Strampus and Maddie just had to run away. They knew that the help was on the way. They could not try and clean up a kill for themselves. And it's a 2-for-0 in favor of AOE randoms in a fight where they only had 2. And that's a really big deal. You do not want to see those kinds of plays if you're rooting for Supernova. It's still not the worst thing in the world. They got some plates. They got some pressure. The gold lead actually staying right about where it was the last time I brought it up, which is a little surprising. And that's just because they're farming better.
Well, it's also the fact that moving around this Tristana really well with those plates. They were able to actually get a lot of plates off onto this Tristana. So the Tristana actually shouldn't be too terribly far behind, at least in terms of gold, just from the fact that they were able to get quite a few plates. But it is going to be a very interesting thing to look at. And look at it. Yeah, there you are. The Tristana sitting at in terms of gold is not doing too terribly bad for themselves in regards to that, as gotten a lot of resources thrown their way.
Yeah, now we see these teams jockeying for position in the river. The Herald is up. No one wants to give this one over. Strompist has the teleport. He's going to be coming up pretty soon, but never mind. Never mind. I really thought Supernova were like getting in position and grouping up to fight that, but okay.
No, I mean they're just like, yo, yeah, sure, you can take it. We're gonna take your mid tower. like it's as simple as that. But a lot of this is all happening. I mean, not if the Tristana just gets gibbed right off the get go, right? Like, yeah, you gotta stop that from happening. And we saw a very clean Ezreal game in the both games here, and this Tristana is not invoking a lot of confidence. It feels like this Tristana is not the same play for him inside this role, and he's having some trouble with getting going.
And Supernova going to give away the Herald. They're going to be able to kill it before it takes down the mid turret, but they don't quite have the power they need to keep holding onto this turret. So that's going to go down. But
they're going in to engage. They're jumping on the Papa Chow. They were able to go ahead and get the kill onto him. Only one member's tangled up. Cozy's over here into the backside. Not going to be able to get anybody on his own. Setup finds the kill. And AOE randoms, they just find so many spread out members of Supernova. It looked like they had an idea, but it was scattered.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, right, is that we've had a few people reset. AOE randoms have been on the map for a little bit, so we've got better items in our inventories. We've hit a couple key breakpoints, so we can win this 5-on-5. But it doesn't really work when it's a 1-on-5 and a 1-on-5, and then 3 people that are way too far away to contribute.
Yeah, there we go. We got a little bit of aggression going on over here towards this top side. Chim is joining the fray to help out with this, as they do have Strumpus here as well. They're going to be able to get the root, and this is going to be Cozy here to cut off their escape. The Dragon Rage Kick is going to be able to kick him into the wall. They're looking to try and make sure he's not going to be able to run away. They're going to be able to secure, lock him down. Double kill for the Tristana off of that play in the top side.
Yeah, and now Lynx is back in this. Getting 2 kills on the Tristana is exactly what you're looking for if you're Supernova. That is a huge deal for them. Lynx is going to be right back caught up. He's not really been able to get a ton of farm. He's way behind on CS per minute. He's got some plates, now 2 kills. He should be accelerated. He will be able to do what he wants to do. That's a good thing for Supernova. This game was starting to look like it might be getting out of hand. Then they find those 2 kills, that turret top, and they're right back in things.
Neither team wants to let go, man. This is such a decisive game for them. Like, they're both looking for opportunities whenever they're able to find them, and you can see they're making mistakes with these opportunities they're trying to create. Both of these teams are struggling to find decisive moments for themselves here, and that has led us into this chaotic kind of state of the game where neither team has really been able to find an advantage that they're able to full send on. They're both trying to find that moment, but it's not able to open up for either side.
Yeah, and I think while we've got this break in the action, I want to point out I asked for Strompus to go Leandries to deal with the double tank. No.
Yeah, we saw that in the last fight. Going to continue going that Everfrost build. You know, it's fine. It works out. It synergizes really well with Ryze's kit, and they're able to get the lockdown that they need. So they are just going to continue going for that build path. But over onto the other side, you can look at some of these other build paths that we are seeing. We're seeing the Kraken Slayer coming out from the Senna here. I was actually kind of curious myself because we did see some lethality buffs to the Senna. See if we might see any of that, but I don't think it's, you know, at that state just quite yet. So good to see the Kraken Slayer build coming out. But yeah, it is across the board. I mean, we got pretty standard items coming across from all the champions here. We got a Sunfire actually instead on the Udyr. Usually you'll see like the Frozen Fist, but none of that here.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Maokai went for the Frostfire Gauntlet. I think that's like the one item I didn't call out. It's probably his best options. Like I said, Sunfire and Chem Tank and Locket, and then he went Frostfire. So, you know, I'm just terrible at predicting builds, I guess. I'm like, Ryze gets this mythic, Maokai wants one of these 3, and Ryze doesn't get it, and Maokai doesn't get one of those 3. But Crossfire is fine on Maokai. The extra size is nice. Bonus stats are good. The slow field is really fantastic against a composition that kind of wants to run fast, you know? When you're slowing down an Udyr, he is not happy. Slowing down his Rise, he's not happy either. So I actually really like that pickup from Pakis. And Cozy might be in trouble. We see the entire squad rolling up to give him some pain.
Safeguard got interrupted. That is the key for disaster there. Cozy in a troublesome spot. Equalizer's going to be laid out, but it's only there to slow down Strampus from being able to join this. This fight is very scattered and frantic. It's going to be Leo going onto a killing spree over here onto the side. Tristana looking to try and lay out the damage. The exhaust was used, though, to fantastic fashion, and that is 2 kills by AOE randoms picked up.
Yeah, and most importantly, one of those kills is Maddie on this Udyr. That is the jungler. That is the smite. This was right next to Baron. Leo might not be able to take the blast going over, but he's able to do some damage. And that should be very AOE randoms.
He just starts blasting over here on the side. Tristana is chunked to under half HP now, man. Like, look at the item build that is on this J. It's Muramana Eclipse. Who can walk into that? Not the Tristana. So yeah, this is just yet again another catch that came out there. Cozy getting caught out of position. This is going to be a very devastating blow for them. AOE randoms. They have Baron, and this is the biggest I think we've seen the gold lead so far.
Yeah, it is, and I mean it's on the back of that pick, right? Cozy was just dead. He was pushed up. His safeguard got interrupted. There was no way he was getting out to safety. But Supernova said, "Let's save our guy. We got to commit to this." And it ends up costing them their jungler, and that's what gives over the Baron. It's not the first mistake that kills you, it's the second. And it's Maddie going down that ends up giving AOE randoms this Baron, the biggest gold lead we've seen, and all of a sudden, they are now looking to start wresting control of this game. It's been back and forth. No team has been in the driver's seat, but a Baron is a great way to get yourself into that driver's seat, and they're going to be looking to press this gas pedal as they start pushing.
They are looking to continue to push on forward, looking to continue forward, and this is one tower falling down now. They're looking to continue to press this advantage on forward to another one, and there's not much that Supernova can do. They kind of just have to watch this happen. Tristana over here onto the side, looking to lay out some damage of their own. Good buster shot to lay it out, good shout, but this Senna pick is coming in so clutch. It's just repairing all the damage they're looking to do. And look at this, they're looking to engage. The equalizer laid out. Tristana forced away. This could be the game they're looking to press here. TP is having to be blown to come back to the base just to defend the Nexus towers. They're looking for the engage. Gonna be able to find a kill onto the Rumble. That's gonna be one that's gonna be able to be secured. The Jace is looking to disengage from this fight. It is AOE randoms that is on the swift retreat, but they're looking to fire back with a vengeance. That's gonna be one. They're looking for their second kill to come on through, and they're gonna be able to find it just like that. It is just the Rise, just the Tristana left standing. Nautilus is healing and coming back in, but we got a full HP. Scion looking to lay in the hurt. It's going to be a kill found by the Tristana, hopping around the map, getting those resets, but it is still this Senna, this Scion. There's no way for them to stop them. This is AOE randoms picking up the W here. There is no hope for them as they are going to be able to secure their spot. And Supernova, they fought valiantly, but they're not going to be able to secure their spot any further.
Yeah, that's just Supernova's comp not having enough damage. They could not get through Chim, they could not get through Pakis until it was a little too late. And that means that even though they get a pick, even though they get their fight, it just doesn't